Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 199. The Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, lap 9. Ooh, 99999. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Jakob's Vehicle Systems. This year, the Jake brake turned 60 years old. Do you know what the Jake brake is?
I'm assuming it is a brake created by someone named Jakob for drifting.
No, it's the brake in the truck that's the engine brake.
Well, shout out to Jakob's. What is it?
Jakob's Vehicle Systems.
Do you know what came out, speaking of all those nines, you know what came out on 9999?
What does that mean? Like on the date?
The
No.
date, 9999.
No.
The Sega Dreamcast.
Oh, dude, I loved my Dreamcast. I think that we should bring back VMUs. Do you remember? Did you have a Dreamcast?
I did. So I bought. After the break, we're talking to Aaron Neuwirth about Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
I bought a Dreamcast a week before they halved the price.
Oh.
I didn't buy it new, but it was a great system that was not very popular. That I think it came out at $200, and I want to say I bought it for $100, and then if I had waited literally 4 or 5 days, it would have been $50, right toward the end, or some version of that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the Dreamcast, and yeah, I'm down for bringing back the VMU so I can call my NFL 2K plays without you knowing what I'm calling.
Oh, yeah, you could use it for that. I just remember that, Power Stone and, Sonic had, some...
What's Power Stone?
You don't remember Power Stone?
No.
It was, a 3D kind of Tekken, kind of Soul Calibur was on it, too. But Power Stone was, a fighting game, but it existed in 3D. And you could, throw boxes at your enemy and stuff like that. It was probably, one of the most fun games on Dreamcast, in my opinion. But
Dreamcast for me. Crazy Taxi.
Yep.
NBA 2K1 or 2K1, 2K2, Soul Calibur, which I think got a perfect score on IGN. I think that was one of the very few 10.0s for a while.
Soul Calibur was good.
Dreamcast? I think that's it. But yeah, 9999, and then on 9909, the Beatles Rock Band came out.
Beatles edition of Rock Band.
Yeah, they had a whole standalone game where they had a bunch of songs, probably 40 or 50 songs.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I was never as you know, Rachel was super into it. I was never a really big game video games that were musical things, like Rock Band.
Right. Well, Joe, extracurricular activities. What have you been up to aside from playing Power Stone since we last recorded?
Last week, my sister and boyfriend came to visit, so we had them here all weekend.
Well, if people did their homework, they would have heard you talk about that on Twilight Forever.
Yeah, they would have heard me talk about that. But they've been here. It was a lot of fun. They were just hanging out. We ate a lot. We went and actually met them in White Plains to meet a Jiukaku, which you and I have gone to before. So we did that first, and then they came back with us, and we went, there's this cool place. I don't think I ever told you about it. At the Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop here in Bridgeport, Connecticut, they have an underwater-themed bowling alley.
Okay.
Called, Uncle Buck's Fish Bowl, I think it's called, or something like that. So, in the front of the Cabela's, there's a bowling alley, and it's, sharks hanging from the ceiling and stuff like that. My sister had mentioned it before because she saw it in, one of these, BuzzFeed clickbait articles. I took her and her boyfriend this time, and we did that. We hung out, sat outside, projector, hot tub, food, things, and just had generally just a chill weekend, but nothing super crazy, but we were just chilling with them. We were investigating movies that they hadn't seen, so we showed them a Too Fast, Too Forever classic movie, and a classic movie for everyone besides those two who has somehow not seen it, Back to the Future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was I looked at my sister, I'm how the fuck have you never seen Back to the Future? And she made an excellent point, which was, most of the movies that she saw as a kid were chosen by me, so this is just my fault that she had never seen Back to the Future. Touche. So we corrected that this weekend.
Okay.
And watched Back to the Future, watched What About Bob, stupid movies like that. But
sure,
that's what we were up to. How about you, brother?
Did I do anything actually? So Bob came down on Sunday. We did another lottery pod. We did the 9th of 10 books. We're almost done with this depressing season, which is good.
Did you see us making a joke on Justin's Facebook about this?
No. I don't really use social. Who's us?
So Justin posted this picture of him canoeing on a lake,
Okay.
and it was just like this beautiful shot. Here, let me like try to. I would never mind. It's just him. I'll describe to you. It's him canoeing on a lake, and it's fucking gorgeous, right? It's very serene. But I said, hey, this looks like this could be an album or a book cover, and he said, yes. It's called Running Mild or something like that, and it's going to be covered by you guys on Lottery Pod next week.
Love it. Perfect.
So there was a Lottery Pod / joke about, and I said it does look like one man's confrontation with grief, just rowing endlessly into a lake by himself. So
That is our brand. That is on brand.
yeah. Go ahead, continue. Sorry to stop you.
No, we did that, and then we watched. Normally when he comes over, we like. So if a book has been adapted into a movie, we'll watch the movie. Then we'll do a bonus
or
episode
something
on Patreon.
adjacent.
Yes. This time we didn't do that. We started a different thing, which we're not saying anywhere but on the Patreon. Just that we're alluding to it. So I can't even spill the tea here.
Oh no.
Instead of the movie, we watched the first 2 episodes of the History of the Atlanta Falcons, which I really like. The YouTube series that John Boyce and the Secret Base guys did.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't like it as much as the Mariners because I don't know as much about the Falcons as I did the Mariners, and also I like baseball more or whatever. But it's great. Also, the second episode ends so. My favorite part, the coolest part of the Mariners thing, they build up to it. Like they have each episode chunked by years, but also like to another point in time or whatever. And so like the Mariners
like a milestone.
Yes. And so it's usually like a new player comes around. And like when they got to the Ichiro one, I was thinking about just like the way that they set up, it's amazing. But then the end of the second episode, because there's either 4 or 5 out now. There's going to be 7, which is more than I thought there was going to be.
Oh, yeah. You said only like 5 before, but yeah.
Yeah. Because the Mariners thing was 5 or 6, and there's going to be 7 of these. But the second part ends with a picture of Dion, which is like, okay, cool. We're getting into like the good shit.
Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
So that's going to be part 3. There's also there's a really cool thing that I saw on Twitter that they retweeted that they show, because the Falcon Stadium was also where the Braves played, so like they had the infield or whatever.
That's pretty common, yeah.
So they had, in the span of like 4 days. Let me see if I can find the tweet. I actually don't know when people find it. Whatever, I'll describe it to you just like you describe things to me.
Thank you.
They have they drew circles, and I have not seen this yet. It's going to be in part 3, but they drew circles on like second base or something, and then like the 50-yard line or something, and it's like Dion stole second base here on the 21st, and on the 24th he had like a strip sack fumble. It was like, it's like how in 15 yards apart. It's like,
that's crazy.
How the fuck is this one guy doing like superhuman things?
2 sports.
Two sports in the same stadium, right?
4 days apart.
It's nuts. It's absolutely crazy. So
that had to be part of his thing, right? Like he could only. I don't remember that much about it. But
I don't know. Yeah,
Dion had to have only been able to play for the Braves, right? So that he could play on the same. So that he could play in the same city, right? Because this isn't like Russ. This isn't like Russ batting with the Yankees in the off season.
No, no, because
he was playing.
You think about in terms of overlapping time, he would only at most if the Falcons made it if the Braves made it to the World Series, he would miss maybe up to 5 or 6 games, theoretically. So it's not like a crazy overlap, but it's also sort of significant. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll find out next time. So I'm gonna watch probably the next 2.
Cool.
Actually, I don't know, because the next one we're doing, Bob and I, is a movie adaptation. We'll figure it out. I don't know. Whatever. But I do, speaking of movies, I have a movie recommendation to end all movie recommendations for you.
Hit me.
See, before I build there, let me see if there's anything else that I watched since last time of note. I finished a show, brand new Cherry Flavor on Netflix, which is good, not great. It's very weird and gross, which I was into.
Cool.
And I also finished the Bond series, thank God. So I'm on to the next thing there.
I saw your rankings. That was pretty funny.
I have 2 new recommendations for you, older movies. So one was this movie called Phase 4, which Bob recommended to me, which is, and I'm not going to even tell you anything about either of these beyond a certain point, because if they sound interesting, just watch them. But Phase 4, something happens in space.
1974. I just want to open the tab just to bookmark it. I'm not going to read anything.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Something happened. This one you can know a little bit about, but something happens in space, and every ant on Earth sort of mutates or morphs or something. They become a hive mind, and they start working together to conspire against humanity. So that's cool. Phase 4, and it's about these 2 guys who are trying to solve it or whatever, stop it, whatever. But the other one, and this is, so Phase 4 is also on Canopy, which is the same library streaming service that I talked about last time.
Yeah, with the world's fastest Indian. Yep.
Shout out Haley. But the other one, this one is not anywhere. I found a copy of it, and then I bought it on eBay. There is this movie called Possession from 1981, okay?
Okay.
Do not read anything about it. You and Rachel need to see this one because it's a horror movie.
Okay.
I can't even begin to describe its reputation precedes it.
Cult classic a little bit? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah,
okay.
It was banned in America.
Oh, that's a good start.
I think, or banned in the UK and heavily edited here, but they didn't edit out the crazy stuff. They, for some reason, edited out like the connective tissue, like the conversations and stuff. So they only left the crazy stuff. I don't know. That seems wild.
Okay.
But this movie, I have no words for it. It is the craziest movie, and like it's.
How did you see it? Why did you see it? Who told you about it? How did you get there?
So I had been. It's on best horror lists.
Okay.
It has a 4.1 on Letterboxd. A lot of friends. So like every year I'd been going through, the last couple of years at least, I've been going through Letterboxd and like finding new horror movies that I wanted to see. Not new horror movies, but horror movies that are new to me. And this is one that was both popular-ish, like 76,000 people, which is not bad for an older movie, that especially if you can't find.
Yeah.
A high rating, and like all my friends really like it or whatever. Like Dan Scully, recent guest, gave it 5 stars. Garrett Smith gave it only 3 stars. The past guest, also Wolf Southern, gave it 5 stars.
Okay.
It's one of those kind of things.
Movie heads know it.
Yes. I was like, I need to find this movie. I need to see this movie. Like, this movie made me squirm, and no movies make me squirm. Like, I am so desensitized to horror and all this shit that, like, nothing I see phases me.
Yeah.
And this, I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, good.
But I think you will like it. It's directed by this, I think, Polish guy, Andrzej Zulawski. So shout out to the Poles out there. I know I've said a lot of things that also have meant nothing, but
it's okay. No, I like this excitement. The energy is good.
Yeah,
it's a good sell.
Unbelievable, cool. Unbelievable. So
like Ricky O levels of bonkers.
I would say probably crazier than Ricky O, which I know, which I understand what that sounds like. I understand how that comes across.
No, but it's okay.
Well, yes, that on that type of thing.
Cool. Okay.
So
I'm gonna try to find a copy. Maybe I'll borrow your copy or something. But yeah,
it was also like one where I'm like, as soon as I started watching it, it's just like, oh, I need to own this movie.
Yep.
I looked on Amazon. It's like, because they had like 2,000 copies and it was out of print. And Amazon, like, people on Amazon, like, the price on Amazon does not necessarily reflect anything. It's just like, oh, like only one other person has it up there and it's like $400. So like, I'll list mine for $395. That doesn't mean it's going to sell, whatever.
Yeah,
but like,
exactly.
There's all like $150 or more. And I'm like, I don't want to spend that much on any movie.
So
and I looked
on eBay.
And there was one guy had it for $40 new. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, that's a lot for a movie, but like for an out of print, unfindable, limited edition copy of a thing.
Yes.
Not much. So that'll be here in a week or so.
Cool.
But yeah, Possession, man.
Nice.
Fucking insane. So.
Okay.
That's all I got. We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellen, and Justin Kleiman, and Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting us at the $5 a month level or above.
And Joey mentioned it, but I was on High School Slumber Party this week, or last week when this comes out, talking about Eclipse, and it took us approximately 5 minutes for Kate to bring up Edward's dick. It goes off the rails pretty much immediately.
Do you guys think Edward masturbates? Kate, you ask that every episode. I do?
Yes. Yeah, 5 minutes in. That's what happened, and it was actually a lot of fun. And the episode's honestly pretty good.
So check that out. High School Slumber Party is split into 2 parts. Part 1 is out now.
Feels
part 2 is
feels
coming
kind
out
of
soon.
Appropriate with breaking down part 1 and part 2, like Eclipse part 1 and part 2 of the episode. Sure. It tracks. We
have a bonus episode coming up between this episode and the next one. So if you join the Patreon now, you'll get access to that bonus episode. Bonus episode, I think, number 14 or something. So
it's adding up. It's getting there.
It's almost a full lap's worth. So
yeah.
Check it out, toofast2forever.com. We also have an email address, family@cageclub.me. We have 3 emails, one of which is a YouTube comment.
Okay.
Was this actually a YouTube comment, or is this not? Oh yeah, it actually is. Yes. Because sometimes like that's not a Bel Air, it's a two, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, okay.
First, though, I should have read this a couple episodes ago. I forgot. Remember, Wes was listening to, I think it was I don't remember who was doing it. Entertainment Weekly maybe was doing interviews leading up to F9, and he was
Yes, with
telling
all
us
the
facts. And I'm like,
characters. Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
just email in and whatever. So we read one, I think about either 4 or 5, and then he sent one in about 6. I just forgot. I got buried in my starred email. So here's one that we were supposed to read for F6, which I was thinking like Tokyo Drift is kind of like Fast and Furious 6 Part 2, even though it came first. So
Yeah, true.
it says, "What up, fam? I just wanted to drop a quick bit of interesting info I learned. One of the more interesting things I've heard was Jordana Brewster on the F5 episode talk about how her role in 6 was significantly reduced because she was locked into a television contract for a show she wouldn't name. I'm assuming Dallas, based on the timing, and they
Makes
wouldn't
sense.
give her the time she needed to work on the movie. She said she was really afraid they were going to cut her from the movie entirely, but Justin Lin assured her he would find a way to keep her in as much as possible. So the whole issue of sidelining her in 6 was really outside of everyone's control, and she seemed pretty bitter at the TV experience with good reason, and said she would never make that mistake again. According to her, in general, the plot still involved her being kidnapped, but it was a much bigger part of the movie, and she would have had much more screen time than the little bit she got. So it wasn't all misogyny that took her out of the action, just shitty Hollywood contracts. So that sucks.
That sucks. That really, really sucks. I feel bad for her. It sucks because like I'm happy that she got the TV work. It sucks that it screwed her out of the movie work, and obviously we love her as Mia a lot, so it sucks.
And also, just fate, again, like fate would mess with her when, not that she's the one that really lost out here, but like when Paul died, Brian and Mia both kind of go away, right? So
Yeah.
actually, on the topic of Mia, I want to bring this up now in case we forget later, because I don't know what we're going to talk about with Aaron. But remember last episode, this is actually something that fan favorite Garrett Smith mentioned on Twitter, that he really loved the conversation, had like a whole thread about it, but about how with Nico and Kebo, they were saying that Brian represents Dom,
Missing
like, to
Jakob.
Dom, Jacob, right? Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering, does Brian also represent Jacob to Mia? Because
Yeah.
we know in F9, she looked for Jacob for like a full year or whatever
Yeah.
after Dom banished him, or she was in contact with him for a year and whatever. She even broke into a prison or whatever she did to try to find more
police
information,
house.
right?
Yeah.
So obviously she doesn't have a romantic relationship with her brother, but
Fills kind of the
maybe
void.
sees Brian as like, a stand-in for the brother she lost in a way.
I think so. And physically, you can imagine that a young John Cena and a young Paul Walker looked more similar than a young Dom. You know what I mean? So I can see it. There's all these things that like you always see like a girl and you're like, she found someone that was just like her father, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so like I can imagine something like that. That's pretty cool. So he fit the family well too. You know what I mean? So like yes, although we did talk about it specifically in the context of like Dom finding Jacob, Mia definitely could have found a lot of Jacob and Brian too. So yeah, age. Physical appearance could have like lured her to him, but then he was like a little mysterious, a little different. Her brother was gone. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about that. Why did I even think about that? I don't remember, but I was just like, oh, Mia?
Yeah.
Brian? Jacob? Maybe.
Maybe.
The YouTube comment is from Gamer Sly Ratchet 1, who I know the name either from YouTube comments or maybe they also follow us on Twitter. That also sounds familiar. This is on the Spy Racer South Pacific episode from 2 episodes ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
It's funny, the beginning of season 2 as a recap, even though not a lot happened story-wise, yet I feel this season could have used one to reintroduce a lot of the season 1 characters, which is what I was saying, like, it's a tall ask to be like, hey, remember these characters from the first 3 or 4 episodes that have never come back?
Yep, I agree.
Here they are in season 5, like, kind of playing sort of big roles, so yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want a Lost style, like, oh, like we talked about it before, like, oh, it's a French woman, but, like, maybe remind us who these people are, because, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because you had like Sashi back. You had the kid with the tacos. I forget his name. That like they stole the car from in the first one. You had the Russian guy, Sashi's minion guy. Yeah, there was a lot of people. I agree. I wish we could have had some kind of background. You know what? In this case with Spy Racers, I wouldn't have even regretted a previously on like Lost.
Yeah.
Just give us the fucking rundown and be like, okay, remember these guys? Okay, they're back.
Oh, you don't remember these guys? Yeah, neither do we.
But I think it's a tall ask that this is a show made for children. Unless you watched... We watched season 1, what, 3 or 4 times at this point?
We watched... No.
3.
Twice?
At least twice. 3 times, I thought.
Once for us, then once with Nico and Kevo.
Okay.
I don't think we watched it 3 times. I can't imagine I would have been like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, twice I think but even still, we watched it twice, and we're still like, I don't remember those people. Like, vaguely remember those people.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
In our last email, thank you to Gamer Sly Ratchet for commenting on YouTube. The YouTube thing is weird. Like, people watch, people comment, but, like, we have, like, 8 views. So it's like, I don't know, but people, like, I think,
If that's your medium.
yeah. I don't do any work to actually do it. I just, let the computer make a video. But, yeah, it's cool. I'm glad that people actually comment there. It's cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good outlet that gives them some other place to watch it. I know that there's people that really love YouTube. My friends use it all the time for everything. So, yeah, it's cool.
And our last email today from Justin Kleinman, subject line, look at the locksmiths in the room. He says, way to go, Joe. You nailed it. That part of the door assembly is, in fact, the latch. Okay. Remember we were talking about the trailer with the chain?
Yes, yeah. What is the name of this thing?
Regarding our Spanish foods we tried, it wasn't snail season. There's a snail season, so no caracoles for us this time.
We had the whole story about this snail season. Come on.
I don't remember that, man. I think snails are gross, so I'm not going to remember snail season. Sorry, Justin.
I did, Justin.
How do you remember that and, like, literally nothing that I need you to remember?
Don't ask questions you don't want answers to.
On the coast, we ate our fair share of seafood. Our favorites were grilled octopus, octopus salad, and calamari croquettes. I tried paella negra, which has squid ink in it. It just tastes like paella, but turns your mouth black. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah, like squid ink pasta. I'm a fan.
Yeah. In the mountains of Aragon, the meals are very wild game centered, and you feel really medieval. We ate boar sausages, oxtail soup, an amazing baked rabbit, etc. One thing we easily could have skipped was zarajo. It's sold everywhere as an appetizer. It's grilled lamb intestines around a grape twig. All I can say is it definitely has a flavor that encourages drinking more beer to cover it up.
Yeah, all of these, like, appetizer/aperitif things are an acquired taste. I've gotten a lot better with the Italian ones because, like, you eventually, like, work your way into them. Yeah, I don't want grilled lamb intestines, actually. I just don't want it. I would try it.
I mean, I think I told the story. It's not really a story, but when I was in Scotland for that wedding, they gave us haggis at the wedding, but they didn't tell us what it was, and it was delicious. But like, if we knew that it was, what is that, like sheep's stomach or whatever?
Yeah.
I would have tried it, but I would have been like, ugh. But like this is just like, oh, it's just like other food that I don't know what it is. Oh, it's delicious. Oh, that was haggis. Cool, right? So
yeah, no wonder why people love it, right? Like there's a reason why it's a famous thing. So.
People go crazy for the jamon, which we had, but as Joe said, for me, it's the cheese. Oh, speaking of jamon, we wanted to buy a jamon for our fantasy baseball draft.
Okay.
But it's like $900.
Yeah.
But like it comes with like you also get like a knife with it, like
yeah.
You get a jamon carving knife and stuff. But like me, like it was really like for me and 2 other guys, we're just like, if we all the 3 of us would put away $1 a day for a year, that's a jamon. So we didn't do it. Because we're like, we don't need, what is it, like 20 pounds of like cured ham or whatever it is. So, but I had a wedge at the 2019 Bronze Award for the World Cheese Awards. It was so good. Everybody tastes like you were eating a whole pizza. I wish I'd brought back more. I still have a wedge of the 2019 Gold Medal winner in my fridge that I'm going to try this weekend with friends. Well, please keep us in the loop about this gold medal. If the bronze was that good, I can't imagine what the gold is.
I'm a cheesehead. When we were in Spain, we went to like some random deli kind of Spanish place that Bourdain went to just eat cold cuts and cheese and stuff like that, and this is my dream. I could just like live on this forever, so I'm very jealous. That sounds awesome.
In conclusion, I like that this is like an essay. In conclusion, Spain is cool. No, in conclusion, it's a beautiful place. You can eat your way across very easily and cheaply. We repacked and expanded our suitcases and brought a whole bunch of food home. It's easy to understand why Dom and the family set up shop in the Canary Islands. Well, cool.
True. Very cool.
Thank you for sharing, Justin. I'm jealous of your trip, but
yeah. The pictures were awesome, and you continue to post awesome pictures, and I'm glad you guys look like you had a fucking blast, so. And
that's all the emails for today. Family@cageclub.me if you want to send the notes about the movies or Spain or whatever. Family@cageclub.me. Joe, on the streets.
Food talk. We do a lot of food talk here.
We do. Maybe, snail talk, etc. Joe, on the streets, news with the Fast and Furious. 2 things of note. Number 1, the day this episode comes out, Tuesday the 7th, the director's cut will be available of F9 will be available on VOD. And then in 2 weeks, on the 21st, the director's cut will be available on Blu-ray.
I'm amped.
Yes, me too. I'm going to have to dip into the Patreon coffers and do a rental or a buy or whatever it is, because I'm buying the Blu-ray, so I'll have a code on the 21st, but like next week.
Wait.
Yeah, next week we are doing with Heather Antos F9, who we saw F9 with. So
that's right.
So when we watch it, we're gonna have to watch the new one on Tuesday to record on Wednesday, right? Like it's just what has to happen.
I think that's what we're gonna have to do, because I want to talk about the new stuff at least, and hopefully Heather likes the movie. But she seemed to in the theater.
She did, and I was like, "You're gonna watch a movie again with us?" She's like, "Do I have to?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would like you to." I mean, this is back when we saw it in theaters, not recently, right? So
yeah, it was
we'll
months. That was weeks ago. Yeah.
And the director's cut confirmed is 2 hours and 29 minutes, which is 7 minutes longer than the theatrical version. So we saw the one scene. I guess in my brain I was thinking those scenes were deleted scenes, but maybe there's deleted scenes and extended scenes. I don't know, but like that scene with Mia and Dom that we talked about last episode, maybe that's in the movie. I don't know.
Well, it'll help us if they put it in the movie to get the context of like where it was, because remember we were trying to figure out like where does this actually fit. So I wouldn't mind that.
We'll find out. And the only other news that I have seen, and we can go see if you said anything, is that people are thinking F10 will be called FX, X as in 10, because Vin Diesel posted a picture on Instagram of his son with FX shaved into the side of his head. So people are thinking maybe instead of fast 10-year seatbelts, it could be called FX. And I sent this to you. Do you want to tell people what you thought it meant?
I thought it meant that Vin Diesel's son got a role on FX, the television channel.
Yeah.
Corey made that joke. Simo made that joke too.
FX is the movies. Yeah, it's not crazy to think. I'm just like, no, man. F10.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
okay. So it's the picture of Dom's son with FX shaved in the side of his head, and like there's no caption at all.
Well, there was a caption. I just cut it off. I don't remember what it said though.
I thought that it just said FX, and I was like, oh, cool. Like maybe he's like in a like American Horror Story or something, like because. So FX brands all their TV shows like very heavily FX'd too.
Yeah.
They're like, American Horror Story, The Strain, like whatever's on FX, like they put it really big in the posters. So I was a little distracted. But yes, it was funny, and I was very, very wrong. And obviously my brain didn't go to F10 because the X just fucking threw me. Whoever decided that it's going to be FX is going to get into a giant SEO war with the channel.
And, Big Keyboard probably lost out to F9, right? So who knows?
Yeah, Big Keyboard. That was a really good joke.
Thank you.
It was really
Any news
good.
that you have seen? Anything else about the Fast and Furious?
No, man. I haven't seen anything about the Fast and Furious.
Well, then the final thing to do before we take a break and talk about Tokyo Drift is the Fast and the Furious minute 25. A minute I called, I'm not going back to Barstow.
Man, you've been using that since the day you got busted. Now let's just chill out and go do this.
I don't need to chill out.
Yes, you do. And you need to stop blaming me for your every mistake. And Roman Pierce needs to start taking responsibility for his own actions.
You need to go to hell.
And you need to go back to Barstow.
I'm not going back to Barstow.
Ryan O'Connor, Roman Pierce, need Monica Fuentes.
Do they have background on Verone?
They've been briefed.
Good. All right, here's the deal. Verone's looking for drivers. I've arranged for both of you to join up. I've also hired some thugs, to make it legit.
When do we start?
Right now.
What are we driving?
Hey, true, baby, that's the track. We'll take it to the top, and that's the truth first.
Don't even think about taking it.
So in this minute, Brian and Roman argue a bit more outside customs. Brian convinces Roman to follow him inside. Inside, Agent Dunn backs up a delivery truck to our group. Monica Fuentes gets out. Monica fills the group in on Verone and the job. Warehouse workers unveil the cars Brian and Roman are driving for the job. As the minute ends. And I have lots of questions here.
Okay.
Why does Brian refer to Roman as Roman Pierce? He says, and Roman Pierce needs to start taking responsibility for his own actions.
I think that's more of like your mom when she's like, Joseph Anthony, or like whatever your middle name is. I don't know do you have a middle name?
Me? Yeah. Michael.
Okay, Joseph Michael needs to start taking responsibility for his actions. I think it's a little bit of that.
I don't know. Like it feels like a very Dwight thing of him, right? Like Dwight, or Edwin's a man who knows
some
things.
things. Yeah, I
Dwight
thought
likes
that.
feet.
Realistically, it's probably to be like, this is his name again, in case you forgot. You know, like,
I guess
audience,
so.
this is what it is.
Immediately after that, when they're inside, Markham goes, Brian O'Connor, Rowan Pierce, and meet Monica Fuentes. So it's not like they're telling the audience, like, even if we didn't know Roman's last name, which I think we did.
He did, because they said it at the track, like Roman Pierce. Like, this is my buddy Roman Pierce. They're just hammering it home, man. They wanted full character development.
Cool. My second question is, was Monica Fuentes just hanging out in the back of that truck? Like, there's no chair. It's not ventilated. There's just boxes around. Like, how long was she in the back? Like, why? What is she doing?
I don't know. So, I thought this too. Likely because it's a delivery truck. There's, like, this UPS, like, the door into the back from the thing.
It doesn't look like that, though.
It does not look like that, though. So, I think the logic is that he had to, like, kind of, like, bring her there like that so nobody saw her. Like,
He'd, like,
Carter
smuggle
Verone
her. Okay.
doesn't, like, see her in the car leaving or something.
But, like, you would think, okay, so say he picks her up, or whatever. So, say he picks her up from Carter. I don't know how that works, but he picks her up. You're driving for a while. Pull over and let her in the front.
No, but I mean, hey, if she was being trailed or something, you don't know. It's probably safer until she gets to the hangar that's owned by U.S. Customs Services.
It's just so funny that they're doing this as, like, I feel like they're doing it for a big reveal for us. Like, oh my God. Because, like, even the way that Brian looks at her, like, oh my God, you're a cop?
No, that is what, I mean, that's obviously what it is, right? It's much easier to show her, like, come out of the back of the truck and be like, oh shit, it was the girl from the race 5 minutes ago.
Right. It's just, it's a leap in logic that I can't explain away even with Fast and Furious logic.
Yeah. I'm saying that the actual, like, way you paint this over is that she was in the passenger seat, there's the whole, like, the door through the thing, and she just came through that door, although it doesn't look like it actually exists.
And the only other question I have, and this is going to probably lead into what you found, there's an airport or a runway or an airplane or something outside the room they're in. So we saw them go into, like, what looks like an office building, which is Customs, right? Are they did they go to a hangar? Is the hangar at Customs? Do you have any answers here where they are, either in terms of filming location or anything?
No, this is part of the same thing that I couldn't find last time, so, like, I don't know what it actually is, but I can logic through this one for you.
Okay, go for it.
That I think that this is just a hangar building that Customs has, that probably where they get, like, planes and helicopters that they've taken, like, that were maybe smuggling drugs or something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like kind of like the storage warehouse for vehicles that they've absconded from criminals.
That makes sense. That tracks.
So I think that they pull up there because, one, they know it's a hangar, so it's like, it's probably, like, fenced in the Customs compound or something else. Like, it's probably secured. It's an easier place to bring Monica Fuentes to. They can keep the cars there. There's a helicopter. There's a plane. Everything can just be kind of stored. And it can work as, like, a garage, too, right? So
yeah.
I think that, you know, because, like, when they take these cars and stuff, they have to, like, do evidence things on them for, like, what the vehicle had in it. And sometimes they hide drugs, like, in weird places in the car, so it'd be a good place to, like, kind of take them apart and look at that. So that's what I was thinking this was.
Cool. So now on that topic, this is a minute where there's a lot to see and also somehow not a lot to see. But what did you find vehicle-wise, warehouse-wise in this Customs office?
So it's very difficult to see anything because, like, the focus is Brian, and there's a guy behind them, and he's, like, kind of working on stuff. There's a helicopter behind them still in the hangar. But to distinguish, like, any specific tools and things, it's very far away. I couldn't tell anything. But we get the reveal of the two main cars in this movie, the Evo and the Eclipse Spider. No surprise to anyone, but because Craig Lieberman worked on this movie, he released 2 videos, one for each of the cars, told some cool stories about it, and I had some cool stories that I pulled from him. If you want to know the whole stories, they're on his YouTube, one for each of the cars, but some cool things that happen. Brian is driving a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 7. Okay,
you know, it's really asking a lot of me that the cars are here in every kind of detail and description that normal people would want, but you don't have the color. Okay. And I don't know which. I know that Roman has the purple car because I've seen the movie before. But
I labeled them Brian and Roman.
I know, but you still got to put the color, man. Come on.
Okay.
Who are you dealing with here?
Okay. Let's add that real quick then.
Thank you.
Evo 7s never came to America. They were only being made in Japan, and they weren't going to come here. The first Lancer Evo that showed up in America was the Evo 8. The movie worked directly with Mitsubishi, and they had 4 cars that were going to go to the rally team that they diverted and sent to Fast and Furious to be in this movie.
Oh, cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. The decal on the side of the car, do you remember it at all? It's like these 2 kind of squares that are rounded, like rectangles.
Squares that are rounded. No,
With rounded edges. There's 2 porthole type looking things.
Okay.
Well, they're just pictures of the car that they made into a graphic in a frame that they put over the side of the car. So it's a picture of the door of the car on a door of a car, which I thought was weird. I never really noticed what it was, but once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. When he described it as that. That was pretty cool. He talks about all the stunts and things like that, and what they did to the cars and neon lights, whatever. The other car, the Eclipse Spider, he has all these pictures of it, getting ready for production. Brian's car could have been a Dodge Neon, but he just said no, don't do that. And they talk about all the other cars it could have been. It was likely going to be a Dodge Neon if they couldn't get the Lancer, the Evos, because they did. Turns out they didn't need the Dodge Neon. Back to the Eclipse Spider. So he had it. It had this spider web kind of painting. It was still the same purple, but it had this spider web kind of painting. And they were like, oh, we're going to do this yellow interior. And he's like, that's a bad idea because yellow interiors will get dirty. And they're like, we don't care. It looks cool. Tyrese shows up and goes, I'm not driving no fucking Lakers car. And they were like, okay. So he had them rip out the yellow interior and put in the gray interior.
Where is he from? Where is he?
I don't know. Who's his team? I thought this too.
Tyrese was born in California, so maybe he's a Clippers fan? Where's
Maybe.
Watts, California?
Or
Watts is southern LA. So yeah, if he's from southern LA and he's not a Lakers fan,
he got to be
he's
a Clippers
probably a Clippers fan. Yeah.
Yeah, so he just got real mad at it and told them no. Then they got into a fight over the rims because they had 19-inch rims on it. He said he wanted 20s. They said 19s, or these ones are $10,000 a piece. He said, fuck that, we're getting 20s. He made them order 20s. Then he didn't want to pay for them, right? Because he's like, no, it's for the movie, right?
It's genuinely amazing that he's still in these movies. You know what I mean?
This is what I'm saying too. Yes, this is good. Yes, that was the point that I was getting at. Not so much the Tyrese stories about the car, but just Tyrese being neurotic on the set sounded really fun to me.
Especially because you remember, they wanted Ja Rule back, and Ja Rule was like, yeah, cool, $50 million or whatever. No, we'll just get Tyrese. And then Tyrese is a diva too, right? But Tyrese stuck around, so I don't know.
Paul Walker loved him, man. So he talks about how he made them change the car and stuff like that, and what it turned out to be, the yellow interior and him bitching about it looking like a Lakers car was really funny to me. They talk about the screens in it, but those are then the body kits and all kinds of other stuff. But on that note, I think because I see that you don't have a trivia question for this.
I was trying to come up with a trivia question about Monica rolling up, but I didn't have a way to ask a question that could have different kinds of answers. I also, and I want to hear your question. The other thing I thought was interesting was that I wouldn't be able to tell you for a million. I mean, I guess I probably could have guessed, but the fact that Agent Dunn was driving the truck kind of surprised me.
Very, very much surprised me as well, which is an interesting direction and a direction we could go for the question. I do like that.
Sure, but what you got?
What is interesting about Roman Pierce's Mitsubishi Eclipse, and that his license plate is Hater.
Yeah, okay. I was also thinking that, but I was also thinking what does his license plate say? I don't know if that'd be an easier question to come up with other answers for than what is unique about his thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just trying
I'm happy to have it be about the license plate, because I think that's a very iconic, memorable thing. I think it's worth having a question about, but I think asking what the license plate says as opposed to what's unique about it is more specific and not fairer, but closer to what we're actually asking. You know what I mean?
I was just trying to build my way out to have more answers to be the interior was yellow, or the taillights are black. You know what I mean? Sure. But I like yours. Yes. What vanity plate does Roman Pierce's car have? And we can make it baller, boss, hater, which is the answer, and one last one. Too cool? Too
Speed?
Cool?
You like that?
Speed. Oh, with 2 3s. Yes.
Cool.
Yes, that's really good.
What vanity plate does Roman's purple Eclipse Spider have? Hater. I also want to say that, like, the song that begins here, which is a very iconic to Too Fast song, it's the Pitbull song Oye.
Yes.
On the Genius page, there is a lyric that begins in the talking part at the beginning, which is not in the movie, and I don't speak Spanish enough, and Google Translate does not do the translation of the slang well enough, but it means something like, hey, what turn eats dick?
I don't know, but I'm using context clues to be like, who wants to suck my dick?
Whose turn is it to suck my dick, maybe?
Yeah. Like, whose turn is it to give me a blowjob here? Like, this
No
kind
niece
of
to niece,
thing.
man.
Yeah, wherever she is. It's a good question. Good. I think that works. That's pretty fun.
Because there's a lot of things in here in this minute that, like, are... Again, I don't know that this movie is as iconic as the first one in terms of people who have watched this many times. I mean, you know, there are certain things about this that are memorable, but yeah. The car reveal and...
Monica coming out of the back of the truck.
The license plate and Monica. There's a couple things in this minute that, like, would qualify, I think. But I think the license plate is a good one. So Hater, I think, is a good one.
Yeah, because Brian just has, like, a fucking Florida license plate. His car is just license plate. So it's weird that they only got one vanity plate for this, but... Tyrese bitched about the paint job because it was, I said it was a spider web. He saw, like, a car in a magazine. He saw an eclipse in a magazine, and he was like, no, this is so much better. And he made them go find the guy who owned that car, find out where he got it painted, who was in South Florida, and then had them repaint it. So it's, like, the same paint job, just in purple, not, like, the guy had, like, blue and silver or something.
Oh, that's cool.
And, yeah, so it's, like, that guy's car... Like they talked to him, they were like, we're going to paint it like that, but make it purple instead. And he was like, yeah, whatever. Cool.
All right, let's take a break and let us bring in Aaron Neuwirth of Out Now with Aaron and Abe to talk about Tokyo Drift.
Nice. Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode 199, Tokyo Drift. At Jacob's Vehicle Systems, they don't stop. Year after year, they provide commercial vehicles OEM around the world with engine braking and valve actuation advances that help them put market-leading trucks on the road. Shout out to Jacob's Vehicle Systems.
Well, shout out to Jacob's Vehicle Systems. Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. Talking now about Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, the Han movie in the Han lap, kind of. We have one of the hosts of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, a podcast that if you do your homework for this show, you would have already listened to, because we were guests on their show. His show is not there. There's only one of them here today. We're off the rails. My recording didn't work last time. Like, that was the track that was supposed to, Anyway, one of the hosts of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, also a writer for We Live Entertainment. We have Aaron Neuwirth. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
I am happy to be. You guys were you were gracious enough to be on our show, and I've been sitting here for months thinking, man, I got to talk more about Fast and Furious at some point. So, and I only whisper that to myself. I say it out loud, it won't happen. So now it's finally happening.
Well, this is the outlet.
I was explaining to somebody, like, the different kinds of episodes we do, and generally, these ones that are about just, like, with a person who's, like, a guest for the first time, about just, like, a random Fast and Furious movie, are always our 3-hour episodes, because we're not really just talking about Tokyo Drift. We're talking about whatever Fast and Furious you want to talk about. So whether that's for 5 minutes, or for 2 hours, or whatever, this is your time to shine, specifically about Tokyo Drift, but about anything. So welcome, settle in, get comfortable, grab your uwabaki, because we are here to talk about Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly excited. This is a movie that I saw I'm one of the few that saw it in theaters at the time.
Wow.
So it's great to finally, and we've done a commentary on it on our podcast. But the more talk about Tokyo Drift, the better. And it seems like the audience is certainly, over the years has realized this one's pretty good, if not one of the best ones. So I'm certainly happy to represent it today.
Have you seen it since you've seen F9?
Since I've seen F9, no. I've seen it enough because I knew I was going to do the podcast, obviously, but I've seen it. I watched all of them before I saw F9, so it's like, do I really need to watch this again before I see? Now, that's also timing. Like, if I had time, surely I would have put it on at some point in the background just to have it go and just to like get myself freshed up. But again, I've seen
It's
it
your first time.
within
It's your first time talking about it in the context of F9, though, right?
for sure, yes. And it's been it's within the past 3 months I have seen it, so it's generally pretty fresh in my mind anyway because it rules. But I'm happy to continue that going.
As the kids say, it lives rent free in your head.
Sure.
It does.
Before we do the conversation about the movie, though, we have to establish your credentials. So you saw this in theaters, which is amazing. Did you see the first two in theaters as well, or was this the first one that you saw in theaters?
I saw the first one in theaters. Strangely, the only one I haven't seen in theaters was Too Fast, Too Furious. Obviously, I regret this because that movie is also pretty great. But I know every other Fast and Furious movie I have seen in theaters.
Very cool. So now, either the most difficult question of the hour or the easiest, I don't know where it's going to fall. Do you have your rankings of these Fast and Furious movies from either least favorite to most favorite, or favorite to most, the least favorite, whichever way you want to do, whichever way you think is going to create more drama? Are you ready to rank these movies?
Oh, I'm ready to rank these movies.
Please hit us with them.
I will go from least to favorite.
Okay.
Number 10. We're counting Hobbs and Shaw, I assume, as well.
Yes,
right?
of course.
Okay.
If you want, yeah.
On this show, we respect Hobbs and Shaw.
Honestly, I mean, more movies should have Fast and Furious Presents in the title, and then we could add all kinds of movies to these lists. But for the time being.
On Comedy Bang Bang, Scott Aukerman keeps, it's now a running bit where he's like, what if Fast and Furious presented F9? Like, Fast and Furious presents F9. So,
see, Scott Aukerman, he always knows what's up. So, like...
He's asking the hard-hitting questions. But yes, we have 1 through 10 here, including Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
So, number 10, your least favorite.
My least favorite is Fast and Furious.
Okay.
Number 4.
Okay.
Number 9 is The Fate of the Furious.
Okay.
Number 8 is Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
That's low, yeah.
So far, crazy. The last time we had rankings was Dan Scully a couple episodes ago, and so far, your 10, 9, and 8, identical.
Ooh, interesting.
He knows what's up, apparently.
Apparently, you guys, yeah.
Number 7 right now is F9. Number 6 is The Fast and the Furious.
First one, yeah.
Number 5 is Too Fast, Too Furious.
Okay.
Number 4 is Fast and Furious 6.
Okay.
Number 3 is The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Furious 7.
Yes.
And, of course, number 1 is Fast 5.
Yes.
The correct number 1, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that everybody has their own, taste and opinions in these things. Like, there's no wrong, because it's all opinions, it's all personal preference. But, anytime somebody doesn't have 5 as number 1, I'm like, are we watching the same movies? I understand.
You can make an
people
argument
can
on
like
any
other
day
things.
for any of them.
There's 4 I see an argument for. 5 is, to me, is obvious, but 5 seems like that should always be right in the running. 7 I can get, because that movie, made ducats of money, so it's clearly there's a response there that people really responded to. I can understand the original because it's the original, so I can understand number 1 being there. But then it's Tokyo Drift just deserves to be right in this conversation, guys.
It does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
I think it's realistically, it's 1, 3, 5, 6, 7.
As far as the statistics,
I think those are the 5 that have the most credibility at being number 1.
Yeah.
In terms of our rankings, we now have 60 rankings. Number 1, going from top down, Fast 5, then Fast and Furious 6, then the first one,
a lot of
then
6 love.
Furious
Okay.
7.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of 6 love.
6 is weird. I haven't seen, I've seen it probably the least of the. Let me think about that for a second. I guess Fate I've probably seen a little bit. That's just it's newer than 6 is.
Well, so which one of these have you seen the most?
The most.
And when we say most, what's a ballpark figure? Are we saying 5 times, 10 times more?
Because it's been 20 years since the first one, and I've seen that one quite a bit. So it's it's probably the first one just by default.
Right? Yeah.
It's a weird question. As far as seeing them the most, it's a lot of them appear on. I've seen parts of 6 and 7 a bunch because FX is we have the movies and we're always playing this.
The movies.
They do.
So it's I've seen good chunks of the plane drop sequence in 7 tons of times because it's I'm having dinner right now and I have 20 minutes. I can watch this. That's just perfect. But in terms of seeing them in full on, I'm sitting down to watch a Fast and Furious movie, probably the first one.
Okay.
That and Too Fast are probably in the same realm, and then Fast 5 is very close. Theatrically, for that question, I'm very sure it's Fast 5. I'm very sure I've seen Fast 5 the most times, in a theater. I'm going to see this movie.
because I feel like with the nature of the show that you do with Abe, like you're like me in that you just watch a lot of things for the first time, like probably like one and done. Just like there's always new movies, right? And so unless you have like a weird, crazy framing device like we have for this show, there's not really a reason necessarily to go back to the well unless it's a movie that really resonates with you for one reason or another.
You're halfway there. Like it's like yes and no.
Am I living on a prayer?
In the scheme of like how our show works, yes, obviously it's not, there's not a premise based around the same kind of thing that you guys are doing where there's a requirement to watch a certain thing or a certain set of things over and over again. With that said, I love rewatching movies because if I really like a movie, I want to see it again. Like I saw Candyman at the screening last week, and then I'm like, I enjoyed that enough. I'm going to go see it. So I saw it again on Saturday night. So I've seen
That's
Candyman
really cool.
twice in like 4 days. So it's like there are certainly movies that click in or like, I need to see this again. Or like the Fast and Furious movies. Like my dad and I saw the first one in theaters, and so now and he also is a big fan of The Rock, and so like not obligation, it's just genuine passion to do this. It's like whenever one of these comes along, it's like let's go see Fast and Furious. Like I took him to the screening of F9, but like in the past, it's like let's go. Like I'll see the movie and then be like let's go see it again. You haven't seen it yet. Let's go see Fast and Furious 6 right now. So it's. There's movies like this, especially like big summer blockbuster stuff where it's like
that are in theaters for a while too.
Yeah, and it's like this is the kind of thing I'd want to see multiple times on a big screen. Like, yeah, I'll go for that. So I do like seeing movies multiple times if both I like them and the opportunity's there, and it's like why not do this? When am I going to have a chance to see whatever, Dunkirk and IMAX again? Like, I want to, do that as many times as I can before the opportunity's just not there anymore.
And I think, Joe, Aaron is one of the few people that I follow on Letterboxd who has seen more movies than I have, was logged more movies on there than I have. Which is,
I believe it.
I'm not trying to brag, but like that's impressive just because I've seen a shitload of movies.
A ton of movies, yeah.
But I think that like the way that I specifically watch movies, and it seems like you're more normal, Aaron. I mean that as a compliment.
But Joey's not.
When I rewatch a movie, I think it says a lot about the movie because I'm like, just my brain is wired to be like, okay, I like that movie, I'll buy the movie, and then I might never watch it again because like just my brain is broken. But like to watch a movie a second time, especially in theaters a second time, is like, oh wow, okay.
It's funny. Like I think about Letterboxd, I don't log everything for one thing. Like there's more. I try to like I do now. Like now I really keep track of it because it's just helpful for like diary purposes. It's like, oh, what did I watch? Oh yeah, there it is. That's what I watched. And what I should do though, because I rewatch stuff so much, I should really write more in the I'm writing like a bunch of reviews every week for the website. So it's like, do I need to write more in Letterboxd? A thing that doesn't do anything for me beyond like, oh, I wrote something. But it is a good way to like. What frame of mind was I in when I rewatched like Moon for the 4th time? Like I should really like write something down like beyond just like still good, but like this thing really connected to me this time, or that Gertie, what a troublemaker. Shame about the real life thing though. Like I don't know, like just random things that I can come up with just to like track my progress when I'm like rewatching certain things.
And for people who have not seen Moon, go see Moon. Moon's a great movie. So 4 review for Sam's Rockwell. Whatever, who knows, right? So cool. Okay, so now. We have some either or questions, no wrong answers.
Great.
Whatever comes to mind, you can elaborate on the answer if you want. If you want to leave it mystery, if you don't have actually a reason, that's all fine. But are you ready for some really hard-hitting questions?
The hardest and the most hittingest, yes.
Do you consider yourself... Actually, I have a new question I'm going to add today for the first time, Joe.
Okay.
And you don't even know this yet, but
I don't.
It's new. Because I don't know if we'll get to it. I'll explain something at the end.
Okay.
Aaron, do you consider yourself more of a Brian or a Dom?
A Dom.
Okay. Are you more of a Mia or a Letty?
Probably a Letty.
Okay. There was a certain amount of hesitation there that I thought was going to mean that you weren't a Letty, but the confidence you said it with,
it was certain.
I was trying to consider like the attributes that both bring to the table, and I was thinking specifically of F9. Like, what were they doing in that movie? It's like, well, one of them's like really getting in on the action, and occasionally going, yeah, when they see something successful happen. That's Letty throughout that movie. Mia, like, she's not an afterthought, but it certainly seems like, yeah, all right, she's helping. Like, that's good. Like, I feel like I'd be, on the roof of that car a little bit more often.
Okay,
makes sense.
Fair enough. That's a nice one. In the first movie, when Mia and Brian are doing dishes in the kitchen, and Vince comes in to taunt Brian, Mia asks Vince the name of the restaurant that he wants to take her to, and she eventually says, Brian, you can take me there. But the way she describes it is it has the little red candles, the wood tables, picadillo, food all over the place. So, Aaron, if we're like, hey, thank you for being on the pod, let's go out to dinner, let's go bring you to a restaurant, it's got these red candles, it's got these wood tables, it's got food all over the place. When you hear a restaurant being described as having food all over the place, what does that mean to you? What are you picturing? What's in your mind's eye?
I like to think that's like a series of like small platters or what have you that have all kinds of like good eating, various tacos and chips and tostadas and what have you. Like a lot of like, just nice things like around. Like there's various tables, everyone's having a good time, and there's food all over. People are constantly coming in and out of the kitchen, like bringing stuff in.
Tapas.
Are you more of a Tej or a Roman?
Roman.
No hesitation. Okay.
Yeah.
Because doing this podcast alone, I know I'm like smiling a lot like Roman would be. So it's just like it's right there.
Love the enthusiasm. Wait, hold on. I have a question for you. So
sure.
The Aaron's PS4 is your current Twitter. There's an Aaron PS3 that when you search Aaron Neuwirth Twitter on Google, the first thing comes up is Aaron Neuwirth or Aaron's PS3. So what is it a PlayStation thing or is it something different? I've been meaning to ask you.
When I first started Twitter back in 2008, 2009, the concept of the handle, because I was too good for social media at the time apparently. I'm only going to make tweets that are like a third person, like a version of like my PlayStation tweeting out stuff, like what's going on with the PlayStation in general. So it was like from the perspective of my PlayStation 3. That morphed because I just started getting into it more. So like I just used it as a regular person and not some kind of nonsense person that wants to do some kind of gimmick. And so so it just naturally just kind of became just my voice just on Twitter. As the PS4 came out, logically I'm thinking, well, now I'm not going to use my PS4. I'm going to use my PS4. So I changed it to Aaron's PS4. The next question you should be asking is, are you going to change it? Did you change it to PS5? And will you change it to PS6, PS7, and PS8? Check those URLs, and you will find that I have those ready to go where I ever do.
Well, so that is good to know. I was thinking you maybe weren't going to, because I have a friend who used to write for Sports Illustrated who was verified, and then he got another job, and he's like, I should probably have a more. It wasn't that his old handle was really unprofessional, but he's like, I should probably have a more professional handle. So he changed it and he lost his verification. So if you change to Aaron's PS5, you might have to get re-verified. And Twitter is always weird with that. So
yeah. So I checked myself because I forget. I have it up to PS7 right now.
Okay.
But yeah, the fact that I have 2 followers apparently. The fact that I got verified, I think certainly solidified. PS6 has no followers, though, and that one's got to do some work. The fact that I got verified recently, that further cemented the fact that I'm not going to change it from PS4. Mainly because I like how PS4 sounds. I like the sound of Aaron's PS4 more than I like the sound of Aaron's PS5, so I just don't really care.
Okay.
It makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
So the reason I Googled your Twitter handle, even though, because I remembered, but it wasn't at the top of my brain, Aaron's PS4, is because this next question is region specific. And I think based on where you live, you're going to have a very clear answer to this. But do you have a preference between In-N-Out and Whataburger?
In-N-Out, and that's one because I genuinely really like In-N-Out, but also I've never had a Whataburger to know the other, know how to compare them. Certainly open to it. Yeah.
Okay. As a follow-up question to that, if you're like, I'm in the mood for a burger, like a fast food burger, is In-N-Out your go-to, or is there another one that you like more?
Like, if everything was right in front of me?
Yeah, if it was all like, they're all 5
option,
minutes away or
distance,
whatever, yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I
This is not a question that we ask most people, but like, being in California, we don't really have a lot of LA people as guests, and so I'm wondering, it's more readily available to you than it is to most people who are a guest on the show, and I'm wondering if this is like, if it's your go-to or whatever. Like, if everything was close to me, Five Guys probably. Like, I don't think their burger's the best, but their fries are amazing.
Exactly,
right?
and that's kind of where my head's at, too. It's like, what, would I just go to Five Guys? Probably, but I'll say this. When I tend to think of, like, if I'm, like, desiring a burger, like, in general, like, if I haven't had a burger in a while, and I'm like, I want to have a hamburger, like, or a cheeseburger. Why am I saying hamburger? Like, whatever. But I want to have a burger right now. My mind does think like In-N-Out is like the default answer for what I think of when I think of hamburger. Does that mean I like it the most? I'm not quite sure about that. I had Five Guys the other day actually. My girlfriend and I we had a Five Guys. It was delicious. So like I think I'd probably prefer that overall as far as taste wise, like what I'm getting out of this. But In-N-Out does like my thought process thinks like, oh yeah, In-N-Out, that's a burger place. That's the one I want to go to. Like it is good. So.
Yeah.
Like they're like those two are like 1 and 2 for me. It's splitting hairs, and I couldn't tell you which one's number 1 right now, honestly.
Do you guys hear that Five Guys is stopping putting extra fries in the bag? They're only giving you what's in the cup.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Wait, that's a thing? They're going to stop doing that?
They're gonna stop. You know how like they normally give you like just a ton of fries in the bag? They said they're gonna stop doing that.
There's little stopping me from reaching through the screen and slapping you in the face, even though it's not your fault.
No, I'm just the messenger, bud.
I'm angry at Five Guys right now because I drove the 15 or 20 minutes the other day to go to Five Guys and they were just closed. And there's Google said they were open and they just nobody inside the doors locked. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? This is a different question, and we've never asked this one before. And they're also, I know that they're not comparable, I don't think, but they're both LA burger places. What? Do you have a preference between Apple Pan and the Counter?
I've been to the Counter and I like it. I haven't been to Apple Pan, so I'm not sure how to judge exactly. But I do like the Counter.
The first time I was in LA, they're like, you have to go get these 2 burgers. I'm like, okay. So like they're wildly different. Like the Apple Pan is just like all like old dudes who are there. Like all the waiters are like in their 70s probably, and they have like burgers and apple pie, I think. Okay. That's their thing. So it's good. Okay. Is Brian good at his job or bad at his job? Is he a good cop? Is he a bad cop? Is Brian good at his job?
It's weird. Now I heard a friend of the show, Mark Hoffmeyer, talk about this. So like I'm ready for this question to a degree because it's like it feels like you have to split it up because it's like when he's on the job, no, I don't think he's like. Well, so here's a sub question: what's a good cop? Like someone that does his job, or someone that does the greater good?
This is a question we might have to retire because I don't know how to ask the question.
Especially now, right? This atmosphere for this question.
It's so difficult. Joe, I think I'm just going to retire this question just because I don't. Fine. I love the question. I don't know how to ask it.
But I to just, if this is the last time, let me throw something in there. I do think Brian is certainly very capable based off of where things go from like 6 and beyond, where he's like, I guess 6 and 7 since it's the last movie season, but like not only is he like capable of like finding things, but he's like a world-class detective. He can trace leads way back. He's got connections everywhere, but including Shea Wiggum, whose nose he broke all those times, and he still like gets the job done. He like when he's in action, he's wearing like tactical like body armor and like holds the gun and every, like it just feels like he has all this training where the Fast and the Furious, it's like, okay, I mean, he was undercover, I guess he was doing that okay, like, but it's like, was he a good cop? I don't know. People died. Everyone got in the way. He's fighting in public. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like bad steps he takes.
Yeah.
Where we've landed is basically he's a good cop because he's bad at being a cop. Essentially, that's like, and that's not even a good answer. Like, that's not even a good summation. Like, it's just, okay, maybe. I don't know. The 3 of us pull a heist. We come away with $30 million. We each split it $10 million each way. We go to Las Vegas. We go to Rio. We go to Monte Carlo. We go to Atlantic City. Wherever we want to go. And we go to the roulette table. Aaron, are you betting it all on red or are you betting it all on black?
I always bet on black, baby.
Yep, and that's just, every single episode. That's, again, shout out to... We should really be sponsored by Passenger 57. Like, that's a genuine sponsor we should have because, everybody loves Wesley Snipes. Okay. Now, on that job, Aaron, were you a racer or a designer? Were you out in the field doing the thing or were you the man in the chair in HQ?
Oh, I'm out in the race. I'm out in the world. Yeah.
I mean, as a Dom and as a Letty, it feels like you are out in the world.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a preference between American muscle and imports?
my thought is no.
That's fine.
Yeah, I get, I side more with Dom on things, so I guess American muscle overall, but like within all this, within my fandom of this franchise, I'm not a car guy whatsoever. So it's like, whatever looks nice.
There's always a door number 3 in these questions. Like you don't have to answer one of the other 2. Like you can choose whatever you want. So you can say I'm not a car guy if that's what you want. I mean, this is just going your permanent.
Yeah,
record.
I mean, well, yes. I mean, I'm. You know, a car I really like one that sticks out to me all the time that I think about. It's Brian's the blue car in Fast and Furious 6 that he's rocking in the
WRX
in the tank chase. Yeah.
Does he have a is he driving a WRX there? Or does he have like an old Skyline? When he's chasing the tank?
It's not a Skyline. It's like
it's a Ford Escort MK1.
Oh.
Mach 1. It's
just a nice looking car. Like that's all. That's my general takeaway.
With the white stripe on the side.
Yeah,
right?
That one. Yes. It's just a nice looking. Like that. Like 6 has a lot of great like stills. Like when you look at like images from Fast and Furious 6, there's a lot of like good shots from that movie. Like I mean, Justin Lin took off after that. That he really felt like he was on a roll as far as how do I top 5? It doesn't quite top 5, but he still has a lot of cool ideas in mind of how to like make everybody look cool in that movie. So
You're not wrong. And also, like, you know, our last new guest, Dan Scully, said that he thinks the most iconic image from any of the Fast and Furious movies, based on just like Google search, like image search alone, is from that scene is Roman jumping between like the tank and the thing, right?
It's a great shot. Like, it really does encompass so much of like where the series started and where it's gone, right? You have one car down here that's like a standard like race car. You have a guy flying through the air, and you have a tank. You have the ridiculous. You have the characters that are just into this thing, and you have a race car being driven by Paul Walker. Like you have like all this stuff within one image. It's like this looks nuts, but why would I not want to see that movie?
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
Is the word oil one syllable or two?
Oil is one syllable.
Are you more of a fan of Corona or Belgian ale?
So, speaking of option 3, I'm not a drinker.
Okay.
So I respect both of them. I respect that Dom has a brand and he's loyal to that brand because we know Dom is loyal to everything, including family. But
True.
You know, Kurt Russell, he's bringing in some new stuff, and you know people like it, and there's good reason why. You know, it's home brewed and stuff, so you know,
the malts, man,
plenty to enjoy.
Okay.
It would seem from beer drinkers. So
that's going to come into play later too with the alcohol question. So just get ready on your toes because like in an hour or so from now it's going to come up again. So don't you worry. Okay. All go to the roulette table and we all bet it on black and it comes up red and we're like, well, shit. So now we got to go do another job. And so we're out in the field and the three of us are out in, you know, a hotel room or something. And I say to you, Aaron, Joe and I need to go in this other room. I'm going to pick up a car and Joe's going to grab some shit, or I don't know what he's doing exactly because it's unclear.
Lift the car.
But we need you to distract the room, doing what only Aaron Neuwirth does best, shine bright like a diamond. We need you to sing a song, karaoke style, to capture the room's attention. What song are you singing?
Bust a Move by Young MC.
Nice.
It's a jam for all the fellas.
I love it. I feel like, I don't think we've had that one before.
No,
that
we
feels
haven't.
like one. That's one that
we
like
should have had.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, man. Knowing you'd be safe either way, would you rather drive a car into a plane as it's taking off or drive a car out of a plane while it's flying and you would parachute to safety? You're safe either way. For the adrenaline, drive a car into a plane or out of a plane?
I'd be going into a plane.
Okay.
I mean, you're saying knowing I'd be safe either way, but even then, like the feeling of dropping has never agreed with me, which is why I'm not a roller coaster guy.
Okay.
I love roller coasters in terms of that looks neat. I'm impressed by the architecture, but in terms of going on one, I can take a pass on that. So driving into a plane, that seems my speed. That seems fun also. You're like, oh my god, the runway's running out or something. What do we do? Oh, and I drive and I get into the plane at just the right time.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough. If you hear someone described as having no knees, like no knees Denise, for instance, what does that mean to you?
I guess that she's short.
Good one. Yeah.
That's new.
Yeah. Nobody ever got to short, but that's very true.
I've heard some of the other answers. I don't want to disrespect this Denise character. I just feel like she's short.
That is the cleanest answer we've ever had.
It is. It's just right there, short. Yeah.
It's clean, clear, succinct, PG,
like
G-rated maybe even. So, you know, going back a question for a second. You're not safe here. You're going to die. I'm so sorry. You're going to die. Would you rather die in a fiery explosion or by drowning in icy water?
Oh, boy. I'd probably take that fiery explosion because I go out with a bang for one thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I assume if I'm in a fiery explosion, I've probably done something that like helps overall. Or like drowning, it feels like, what am I contributing to this? Nothing except a really sad corpse. So I feel like if I'm in some kind of explosion, because I like took somebody down with me, or I stopped it from hitting somebody else, or whatever.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No context. Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight?
The Dark Knight.
Are you more of a Hobbs or a Shaw?
Shaw. I'm a Shaw in this scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly Shaw. That is one of our most clear discrepancies. I feel like even you with the confidence to say you're a Letty, you know you're not a Hobbs. I mean, it's a whole
He's
thing.
huge.
Like,
Well, like, because he's like, he's a Hulk. Like, like Shaw, like, you know, Jason Statham's cool and all that, but he's like, he also seems like a guy. Like, he seems like a person that exists in reality. And The Rock does exist in reality, except he just seems abnormally large, like as far as how his body, him and Cena for that matter. Like Cena has such an awkward body, and
He's huge. That
like,
man is really big. Yeah.
Like I assume you guys have seen The Suicide Squad by now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that scene where he walks out in just his briefs, and it's like, beyond the fact that that's funny because John Cena's framing him as funny in general. His body is so like weirdly like shaped. He's like a real Johnny Bravo. Like that's what.
Yeah,
he is.
yeah, that's a good point.
But The Rock is like. Think of even Fast 5 to an extent. He's not quite as big, but like he gets so big now. Like when he does things, like Black Adam's gonna be ridiculous when he's like.
My friend Bob, who I do How to Win the Lottery with, he says whenever you cast like Arnold or The Rock in a movie as like a cop, it becomes not a real movie because like no cop has the time to spend 11 hours a day in the gym or whatever.
Yeah, true.
So here's another question I might retire because it feels like it's
Go
a
ahead.
very niche thing. But of the unsung younger brothers, are you more of an Owen Shaw from Fast and Furious 6, a Mateo from Hobbs and Shaw, or a Jakob from F9? Are you more of an Owen, a Mateo, or a Jakob?
I would say a Mateo. It feels like Mateo's got his head, like, you know, his brother may be like estranged from him, but he's running a business, seems successful enough, given that they're on an island nation where I can't imagine many sales happen. But regardless, it seems to be working out for him. Like it seems like he's got like his life set, despite like, you know, all the stuff that kind of comes his way. Where Owen is like he's trying to like prove himself, and he has like this meticulous plan that I don't know where it's really adding up to. I guess Is he working for Charlize? Is that the thing that's going on over?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so he does have like an overlord, and it's Charlize in that scenario. Okay, so but like even then, he still seems like he's just kind of like this underling, but he has this thing about like, you know, no family at all or what. And it's like, I'm not into that. And Jakob, you know, he's obviously got a lot of issues when it's like he's apparently good at what he does, and we'll see more about. I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the 10th one. I'll refrain from using the title for now, but you know, I look forward to learning more about him. But he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that I'd be rolling with. So Mateo I'm some more simpatico with.
You know, that answer was so good, I'm going to keep the question.
Yeah, that was a really good. I absolutely agree.
It's not a question for everybody. Like, you need to have experience with the franchise to a point where, like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Like, people are like, who's Mateo? It's like the movie just came out. Like, you got to know Mateo. But,
If I'm on the Too Fast, Too Forever podcast, I feel like I'm going to do my homework.
Thank
here,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate
It's
it.
not so much to ask. Okay, here's a brand new question, which I'm going to, because we have, like, they're all broken down by movie. Because, like, if we have a lap where a guest is on every movie, we do different questions per movie or whatever. And so the Good Cop, Bad Cop was movie 4, so that's gone. So here's another one, fits in perfectly with 4. Are you more fast or furious? And Joe, what do you think of that question?
I like it. I do like it. I wonder where this is going to go.
I ran track, so I'm a fast guy.
Okay.
I like to move. I like to move it, as Jada Pinkett Smith said.
Well played, sir.
Perfect.
There were 4 options I could have chosen for that joke, by the way. I went with Jada Pinkett for some reason.
It's really good.
I think of the Jock Jams one.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was on the Jock Jams thing. I don't know. Who knows? And the final question in this portion, before we go to a different thing with other questions, do you have a favorite character in the franchise?
Roman, by far.
Okay.
I like Roman. I'm a big Roman fan, too.
Watching F9 especially, he just seems instrumental to this franchise as much as Dom at this point. Like, there is so much that you gain from having him around as opposed to not having him around.
That is the biggest compliment I think anyone has ever paid to Roman on this podcast or in real life.
Well,
He's
it's
as instrumental as Dom.
I seriously believe it. I mean, he's playing the comedy, sure, but there's so much. It keeps the movies from like feeling like too much, like too earnest, like too serious. Like it's such, especially in F9 where. I love the exploration of, are we invincible? Like, is this a thing now?
Mm-hmm.
Is this how it works? And going one step further, the whole space thing, which I think was handled very well for them. I think we talked about this, obviously. But I'm sure we addressed this on the podcast. But I think because of how you see his reaction to going into space, that's why it sells the sequence so well. The way it goes from him being like manic about this ridiculous thing to having this sense of wonder in his face as you're watching him escape the atmosphere of Earth. It's like, that's what Tyrese brings to this franchise. There's like some like serious wonder energy that is seriously lacking from a lot of movies that are way too cynical or just don't seem to like get the tone of what we're really going for. This series doesn't necessarily need to be grounded, but it needs to have some kind of like, why am I watching this beyond just like the car stuff or hearing about family. It's like because Tyrese brings a certain kind of energy that's not, I don't see replicated very often. And I think ever since Too Fast, which he's excellent in, and then he had to shift from being alpha to comedic relief, it still really works. So I mean, it's clearly he's doing something right since they've held on to him a lot longer than some of the other characters in this franchise.
Yeah, from Alpha to Joker, the Roman Pierce story. All right, so now to kick off the conversation about Tokyo Drift, all lap long, since we've known that Dom has a new brother named Jakob, played by John Cena, if you can see him, because it's hard to see him, we've been trying to figure out where in the world, where in the timeline, where, while these things are going on, Jakob is. And Tokyo Drift is especially interesting because of the timeline of it all. What we learn in F9 is that Han is obviously not really dead because Han is back. But Han, during this movie, has been working for Mr. Nobody. So that's going to inform part of our conversation, I'm sure. But separating that for a second, we know that at some point, we don't know when it started, we don't know when it ended, Jakob was working for Mr. Nobody as well. So in the events of Tokyo Drift, which now take place after 6, but before the credits in 6, where is Jakob? Is he working for Mr. Nobody? Is he not working for Mr. Nobody? Is he in Tokyo while this is going on? Is he somewhere else? Aaron, again, no wrong answers. Where at this time, and I don't remember what we said last time because why would I write things down? Where do you think Jakob is during the events of this movie?
I think he's definitely working for Nobody at this point.
Okay.
And if I had to guess where he would be, like in this movie specifically, I think there's 3 points he could be popping up, or at least in the background or something.
Okay.
One is during the kind of the montage of what's his name? Because I'm like Brian, no, different white guy, Sean. Where the montage of like Sean like doing work for Han as well as like becoming a better drifter.
Sure.
I'd like to think he's like in the background of one of those races, like observing him, and because he's connected to Han, so he's like, I'm interested in where this is going. And one of the places where he's picking up like money for Han, he's like maybe he's in like that sauna, that spawn.
So with the guy who has the paw tattoo, he's also there.
Yeah, he's like wearing a towel somewhere in the back, and it's like
in the bathhouse.
Yeah, in the exactly the bathhouse. Maybe he's like in there at some point. Then yes, during one of the races, he's seeing, because he likes races, obviously. So he's like watching one of the races, and then obviously the third time is when Han fake dies. He's like watching from a distance, like in the crowd somewhere.
Yeah, I think on a per capita basis, him being in Shibuya Crossing, just like number of people on screen, he's probably there. But I do like him being in the bathhouse. I think that's a nice pick. But Joe, what about you? Where do you think, is Jakob in Tokyo, or is he somewhere else? And is he working for Mr. Nobody as he quits?
I think in the scene that you see the football field, like the soccer field, and them playing, I think that he's probably from a vantage point that's pretty much where that camera angle is from. He's like in a higher building watching down like that. I do think he's probably working for Mr. Nobody, but I think that would be a good like he's just like always above them too, right? To kind of like jump off that.
Yeah, so he can zip line where he needs to go afterwards.
Exactly. He could just like shoot a thing, rappel across the city, and he'll be there.
Which, as we know, he is a master of zipline in a way that I did not think gravity, worked, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's very casual about it too. That's the best part. When he's ziplining, he's like, "Oh yeah, another one of these."
Yeah.
Yawns during it.
I feel so we're nearing a point in time, just because we don't have a lot of runway left in terms of number of movies between now and 9, where he turns on Mr. Nobody, and I feel like maybe. And he's got to know that he's not Mr. Nobody's only contact. But maybe he starts to feel a little jealous that he's recruiting Han.
Seems like that kind of guy.
Right? That he's like, I thought we had something. He's like, yeah, man, but I got lots of you guys. And then that, so I feel like this is where it's beginning to crumble. Again, I might have said in the last episode, okay, he's already gone. But I feel like it's now, he's about to turn.
Like he and Nobody and Han at some point are like hanging out in a ramen bar. And they're and Jacob's like walking in from the distance, and he sees them like clink their Belgian ale glass. It's like, and he gives a sad look and walks away, all Charlie Brown style.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
I'm watching the bathhouse scene right now to see if there's a guy who's not like very clearly, because it's all Asian men.
They're
it's
all very
mostly
Japanese
older
guys.
Asian men.
Yeah.
But there's a guy who takes down his underwear. Like, you don't see his dick because it's behind a partition, but there's a guy, you see him take down his underwear in the scene, which I've never seen before because I've never looked past the guy with the bear tattoo. But there's almost, this is almost a rated X movie.
Almost.
I love this question, by the way. Like where Jakob is.
It's all Joe. That's all Joe.
I'm very much hoping that when they release the 11, sorry, I guess with Hobbs, the 12 movie box set, that they remaster these and they CG John Cena in various scenes from all of these movies.
That's my favorite thing.
It's the Fast and Furious special editions. There's dewbacks and John Cena in every movie now.
It'd be perfect.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron. The floor is yours. Tokyo Drift, your, I believe, would you say, third favorite Fast and Furious movie? Correct. What do you love about this movie? What are your favorite parts, your least favorite parts? There's no Roman, so there's none of your boy Roman, but what about this do you love? Why did you want to talk about this movie? Or is this the one I'm just like, hey, we need a guest for this? I don't remember. That might have been what happened, but tell us about Tokyo Drift.
That's part of it, but also it's like I could talk about any of these movies, even the ones I'm lesser on, just because I have reasons why. I mean, it's not hard to do. I very much do like this movie, and a lot of it comes and that's in spite of the fact that yes, it does remove key franchise elements. There's no Dom, there's no Brian, there's no Roman, there's no Elle. There's a lot of things that are just on pause before we kind of get back to the Skywalker saga and the rest of the films. So it's what I really keyed into the first time I was watching this is this is Karate Kid but with cars. Like that's the movie I'm watching. Which that aspect right there is like, well, that's how good that screenplay was. They can apply it to the Fast and the Furious and make it work.
Even though in this movie, Han says to Sean, "There's no wax on, wax off. You learn by doing."
Drifting,
I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, there's clearly that just makes me think Justin Lin very much knows what his screenplay is attached to. Is the fact that we made Karate Kid, but with cars this time. And
so is Han Mr. Miyagi?
In this scenario, yes, he's the Mr. Miyagi.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So structure-wise, that's what once I tapped into that, I'm like, okay, because I was curious, like, what is this movie going to be? This third one that's coming out now, that's like a spin-off. Like, what do we get out of that? And so, right there, I was like, okay, now once he got to Tokyo, and like we started seeing like where this plot was going, I was like, okay, all right, I see what you're trying to do, and I appreciate it. In addition to that, there's a lot of things I really like about this. One, first off, the soundtrack is banging. Like, this is such a really good soundtrack. It kicks off with that Mos Def track that's excellent. It has so many, like, different kinds of jams throughout this thing, which is like, it's kind of a new direction from Too Fast and Furious, which is obviously very, southern rap heavy with, Ludacris and all that. I mean, you got a lot of different kind of things. This one goes a different direction. You have a variety of different tracks that I just really enjoy. It's probably the soundtrack I've played the most. Probably the sound 6 I play a lot also, but this one's right up there as far as the soundtracks I've played.
I mean, 6 we own it. I mean, that's enough to put 6 in constant rotation. Sure.
2 Chainz. I like his name.
Money is the motivation, and something conversation. I don't know. Well, yes. Yeah. Soundtrack, amazing. Yes.
This soundtrack is also very amazing. Obviously, Han. I mean, you can't go very far without saying Han is a huge factor of why I like this movie. He very much strikes on screen right away. I had seen Better Luck Tomorrow already before. I saw it in theaters also, so I was very aware of Justin Lin being like, oh, cool, he's got a new movie out and he's in the Fast and Furious franchise. Awesome. And then seeing Sung Kang in there, I was like, I wasn't like sitting there thinking this is definitely the same guy from that movie, but it's like, in retrospect, as that conversation started happening, it's like, that's actually really cool that he brought Han in from that movie and incorporated him into this world for whatever reason. But yeah, he is like a mountain of charisma. The way he conducts himself throughout this thing is great. He has such this is not the most chemistry-heavy movie as far as Sean's connection to other people, so the fact that he connects to him, that's a big plus right there.
Very true, yeah.
This is not me saying Lucas Black is bad in this movie. I think in moments he is really good. I think in other moments he feels like a 20-year-old person who's playing a high school kid.
Well, it's also like, in terms of the lack of chemistry, like that's kind of the point of the movie, right? Like he's not supposed to fit in. Like,
yeah, but there's a difference between fish out of water and we're taking you in because of how much we get along with you. And I think, and I think he works well with Twinkie. Bow Wow also fun in this movie, and obviously his Hulk car is one of the hugest best aspects of this thing. Him and Neela. It's like, all right, yeah, like you need a romance, I guess, but like I'm not watching Machio and Elizabeth Shue over here. Like it's not the same thing. They have scenes together, and I guess they work. I guess that's kind of my takeaway from that.
Right.
I do think Lucas Black has a lot of great moments. The whole opening segment with him and Brad from Home Improvement. I think that's a lot of fun because it's such cliched high school bullshit. Where I'm like in the theater when I was watching this with my friend. Shout out to Scooter, my friend who I've seen most of these movies with. There's a lot of like lines where you just know where they're going. So it's like when Sean is like leaning next to the girlfriend, it's what Nikki Griffin, and Zachary Ty Bryan walks up and he's like, "You talking to my girl?" We both said, "You talking to my girl?" right before he said it. Like it's just a lot of like obvious stuff that's happening, like as far as how to frame this. I got to be more macho than you type thing. It's a ridiculous sequence. The whole race around the built car lot, and it's a big reminder that this is a 2000s movie because they go for the ba with the ba on the soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
But it's still like super fun. But it's capped off with we're in the hospital or the police, whatever, and Sean like gives that smile to the girlfriend because he won the race, and his smile's all bloody. Like that's like maybe Lucas Black's best moment in this movie when he just gives that like, I did it.
It's perfect. I agree.
The use of Tokyo, I think, is effective enough. Like, I'm not going to say this is the most authentic Tokyo movie because, it's the Fast and the Furious. It's a Universal production. But regardless, Justin Lin, I think, does a good job of bringing an aspect of what that life could be that applies both to this series and to just seeing something different on a, that's not America or not like Paris or England or whatever cliche like summer movie thing that you would see. You get a lot of like interesting depiction of like teenage nightlife in Tokyo that I think works pretty well.
Yeah.
As I'm not a car guy, as I've said, I still think the car stuff in here, much like the first two films, is handled very well and it's in its own way. Obviously, the drifting factor is a huge aspect, as it's called Tokyo Drift, and the title has since been appropriated to apply to anything that you want to have more fun with, just like Electric Boogaloo. So it's like, Tokyo drifting. Let's see how that works. And the drifting looks cool in this movie. Largely because it's a lower budget movie than the first two. Or no, it's not.
Yeah.
That's a lot. The first one's bigger than the first one.
But it somehow feels like a lower budget movie.
It does feel like it's a more grounded.
But it doesn't feel cheap. It just feels like we're gonna do this other thing where it's like all brand new people in a brand new place, and we're gonna just try something like it's gonna be like a serialized story with different characters.
Very much so. Where like compared to Too Fast and Furious, which you guys talked about, it's John Singleton being like, I was just into anime, so I wanted to make an anime movie, and I guess Too Fast and Furious. Like this is like I'm making something more grounded. So like the use of CG is, I would say, fairly minimal. There's a lot of practical car stuff happening, and that's true for all of the movies, honestly. There's obviously more CG as it goes on, and 4 is the worst perpetrator of this. But, I mean, they do a lot of practical stunts. That's a huge thing about the series that I really like. But this one, because it's not focused on world-changing events or saving the day, it's just focused on a group of teenagers racing in garages or what have you. It's like, I like that it looks really good. You see the drifting in action. The title, it earns the title of Tokyo Drift by having actual drifting. It's like a lot of fun stuff there. The villain DK, he has that kind of like that pompous villain energy that I think works for a movie like this. And then you have Leonardo Nam, who pops in here as like I wish he had more to do, honestly, but it's in terms of like giving you something to bounce off of. It's like, you got the crazy one and you got the more serious grumpy guy all the time.
Yep.
It does feel like, and we've talked to, especially when we did the Missing Pieces lap, which was lap 7, I think. But we did the deleted scenes, and like there's so much for this movie that are especially around like Reiko and Earl and like just like the sort of ancillary characters. And I feel like if this movie came out like today and it was the kind of like where it's Hobbs and Shaw, where it doesn't have to necessarily tie in, we would have had another like 30, 35 minutes with more Morimoto and with more of Reiko and more of Earl and more, you know what I mean? Like it feels like there's so much that like Justin Lin wants to explore in this space. And then he has to get it down to, I guess, like an hour 40 or whatever for this movie before it becomes like, oh, they're all 2.5 hours or whatever. But I feel like there's so much that the background characters, and maybe they would overstay their welcome if they're in there more, but you're right. Like Morimoto's awesome. And the fact that he's only on screen for like, I don't know, 3.5 minutes or whatever, like it's a bummer, but give me more.
It's at the same time, it's like I do appreciate the brevity of these first like few films.
For sure.
Like there's there's an efficiency there that I think very much matches the kind of movies these are, where the next the 5 and beyond get more more and more epic as they go. And while that's not necessarily a detriment overall, because I think the pacing's handled pretty well in those movies, it does feel like these certainly feel like they're in a world of themselves now as far as being this big thing as opposed to being these, not necessarily intimate, but certainly more closed-off affairs. The great Sonny Chiba, of course, just appearing in this movie. It's like, all right, and R.I.P. to Sonny Chiba. But just the fact that he's in this, it's like, well, that's fun. Like Sonny Chiba showing up in the Fast and Furious movies. Let's see, favorite moments. I think that the whole first. Well, I mentioned the opening high school bullshit is like a lot of fun to me. But the first like drifting race that we have, where Sean is just messing up that car like the whole time up the ramp.
Oh, it hurts my soul.
That's really entertaining to me. That bit where they're all going up the elevators to get to the top, and you have Han go in by himself, and he's like eating his food. You have Twinkie go in, and it's like a bunch of girls in the elevator. Like there's just a lot of there's a lot of fun happening in that whole sequence. Just set up the atmosphere of what this underground racing world is like. The big montage of him learning how to drift in like the tire yard area or whatever. Like I like that a lot. Obviously the big action chase between Han and DK, and then Sean and Neela and Morimoto, like that big chase sequence that leads to the what's that intersection called where they drift around the intersection?
The Shibuya crossing.
The Shibuya crossing, yeah.
Leading to the not death of Han.
Leading to the not death of Han, and like seeing that for the first time, it's like, oh, they just killed like the best character. It was really upsetting. Like I felt bad. So it's like it has the culmination of that sequence is surprisingly emotional.
On that similar kind of note, when you were seeing this for the first time in theaters and you were surprised at the death, were you surprised to see Dom show up? Like, were you like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense? Were you like, oh my god, they got Vin Diesel for this movie?
I wasn't. Now I was happily not spoiled by this. That's good already. But
okay.
I wasn't surprised because you just kind of feel these things at some point. But it's not like I was like thinking Dom better show up at the end of this. It's more like, okay, that works. I like how that. I like how that connects to the rest of this franchise. And I like knowing the reason why. It's like if you appear in this, then you get the rights to Pitch Black. Like that made me. Yep. It's like that's a fun trade-off for Vin Diesel. It's like appear in our Fast and Furious movie once again, and we'll give you Riddick. You can have him. Like that's very entertaining to me. What other aspects of this thing? Are you asking just like favorite moments in general, or?
I mean, yeah. If there's one thing, like I guess here's a question that we don't really often ask, but if somebody mentions Tokyo Drift, or you think of this movie, like what's the one thing that comes to mind? Like what's the thing that when you think like, oh, Tokyo Drift, like is there an image or a scene or something, a moment that you're like, oh yeah, that's what I think of, like the residual self-image in the Matrix terms?
Well, when I think Tokyo Drift now, I just hear the main theme,
the Teriyaki Boys
song, Teriyaki Boys song. Like that's what you dun, 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 like you just hear that. I hear that right in my head anytime Tokyo Drift is mentioned. And then like when I hear Tokyo Drift brought up, it's depending on the people that I'm with. It's either yeah, that movie's fun, or I never saw that because it's called Tokyo Drift. And so my immediate thought is to be like, well, you have to see it. It's Karate Kid of cars, and that generally intrigues people. It's like, really? that generally gets them like interested to some degree. It's like, how does that work? My thought initially when I hear Tokyo Drift is both the theme song and the idea that I need to defend this movie and let people know that it's actually pretty great.
Okay.
I never thought about this until you just said it, but now that I'm sitting here thinking, the first thing that came to my head was Twinkie's Hulk car. Mm-hmm. And it feels kind of out of place when that's it, but like that was like the first thing that like vividly popped into my brain when I heard Tokyo Drift.
I like how excited he is when he like introduces his car to Sean when he's like getting it out, and they're like going through the cycling through the cars, and it's like it's not that one, not that one. There it is, and it's like you're watching this the first time, you're thinking, what is Bow Wow excited about? And it's like, what's the camera going to reveal to me right now? And of all the things you could have, it's like, no, I did not think that there was going to be some kind of this specific kind of car that has Hulk hands pressed into the metal of the car. Yeah. It's insane, but it is a really cool car.
I think what kind of links the two of yours is that is further elevated by the soundtrack of it all, and My Life Be Like, and just like the perfect song, just like, yeah, okay. And then just him like nodding and smiling like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And like Sean doesn't really react. It's just like, I feel like he's taking it out just to show himself. Just like, yeah, that's my car. What's up? And Sean's like, okay, cool, man.
One last thing, and it doesn't really apply to the movie. I like the fact that Ebert likes this movie. Like, I like that he likes these first three movies. I'm into the fact that he was into them also. He's like, yeah, these are great. What are you talking about? These are fun movies. They do the job. And then the fourth one, much like my reaction, he's like, nah, this one isn't good. It's like, Ebert seems to get it.
I know that he got a lot of shit. I think specifically for number 2, I think he gave like 3 stars to number 2 or whatever. But it's like, this movie isn't trying to be Citizen Kane. It's trying to do a thing that like it's doing, and they're all successful at it. I mean, they're successful in different ways and to different extents or whatever. But like, if you want a cool movie that just feels cool and looks cool and sounds cool,
Hour and a
with
half.
characters, yeah, that you're in and out. It's like I don't know how to make a better version of this. Like people, I think hate this because it doesn't like tie into the. I mean, now it does, but like, I don't know why people hate this movie because like it's great.
I mean, I do think it just comes down to Lucas Black's screen presence by comparison to the other three from the first two movies.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not quite up to speed, and it's not like I like Bow Wow in this, but it's not the movie. It's not an action movie, right? It's purely about like racing. It's a high school drama with cars. Like that's the movie compared to being a heist film or just something that's more action focused. So it's like this is who is this for exactly? And I think that's the audience that honestly flocked to it. It's the people like, it's like a high school thing, and it's cars and whatnot. It's cool. Like it's less about like gunfights and what have you. It's more about this.
Is there a movie called Heist School? That's a high school where you learn how to do heists.
Sure, let's put that down on the docket right now.
There should be, right?
Let's bang that out in the next couple of months.
Okay. Yeah. This is intellectual property of Too Fast, Too Forever and Aaron Neuwirth. We cannot take this idea. We're mailing it to ourselves in the post office, which doesn't really work, but we got dibs on heist school high.
I like heist school.
There's a short film called Heist School apparently, and a Workaholics episode. But I'm seeing there's a lot of wiggle room. I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Okay.
Last thing about the Ebert thing, because I specifically remember the Ebert and Roper like television episode of them talking about this movie.
Okay.
So at this point, it had been two movies where I think Roper didn't like either of them, and Ebert's liked both of them. So they get to this third movie, and I think it's because they trade off. I think it's Roper goes first, and he like describes as you do on a film show, you describe what the movie is, and then you give like your thought. Then he goes to Ebert, and so Ebert's like, "Well, I like this movie," and Roper gives him like this dumbfounded look, and he's like, you're punking me, right? Like he just couldn't believe that Ebert was still down for the Fast and Furious franchise. And it's always stuck out to me as far as like because the Siskel disagreements, those are like legendary. Like I find those on YouTube just for fun. But there's not too many like memorable Ebert and Roper memories that I have. So like that's one that really sticks out to me as far as him just like not believing that Roger Ebert's like, yeah, Tokyo Drift is great. Why not? It's fun. What's your problem?
This guy said he knew Ebert. Said Ebert was family. Okay. Yeah.
Because Ebert liked Diesel. That was the thing. He was a big fan of Diesel, so I think that's what got him by in the first one. And I guess he was just riding the fumes of the next two because he's just still into this fucking franchise for whatever reason.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
It's awesome.
I love it. Joe, what about you? So in terms of, within the context of F9, how are you watching this movie?
I'm watching this, and I really couldn't see anything this time but trying to figure out what Han is doing with Mr. Nobody in the background, right?
Right.
And I have to think, and I wanted to present this to you guys, it might have been very obvious, but do you think that Mr. Nobody was trying to get Sonny Chiba in this movie, and Han was just working kind of in the Giselle role as, like, buddies with DK? Because the one thing that never made sense about this movie to me is, like, we were always like, why is Han hanging out with the Yakuza and with high schoolers?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. But if you put it in the context that Mr. Nobody has them running a mission trying to find Sonny Chiba or, like kind of bring down the Yakuza and maybe Sonny Chiba's a big part of that, then now this starts to kind of fill in the blanks of like why he's with DK, why he's with high schoolers and things like that. What do you think about that?
Well, first I want to say R.I.P. Sonny Chiba. And second, and I'm going to let Aaron do his thing because I just have a dumb idea that I can't get out of my head. But I'm just thinking, you said like is he the Giselle? I'm just thinking of him in the bathhouse with Uncle Kamada, and they're trying to get Uncle Kamada's handprint on Han, but he's not. There's no bathing suit, so just like, how is this going to work? And Han's like, don't worry, I got it.
Well played.
Did he smack the? Okay,
Yeah.
I'd like to think that nobody is using Han as a kind of like he's stationed Han as like an undercover Yakuza at this point.
Yep.
Like that's like the ultimate idea. It's not to take down the Yakuza because the Yakuza is so big, right? It's like it's everything as far as like worldwide mobs go or whatever. So I feel like it's more of it's a means to an end. So like we'll use Sonny Chiba to get to these other guys that we can take down. Like, he's probably connected to all kinds of stuff. So as long as he
Right.
seems like an underling, that means he's going to get access to like all kinds of other things, other connections that the Yakuza have that will be useful to nobody as far as what else they can, stop or track or keep,
And it has to play in with these like shipments too. Like that also seems like a very Mr. Nobody thing to be watching, because like we learn that they like are fighting. DK is Uncle Kamada is upset because he has these like shipments of we don't know what, presumably car parts or something coming in. Han is undercutting them and like kind of like skimming off the top on their shipments. And it's like, oh, that seems like something that Mr. Nobody would be involved in, like international trafficking. He might be concerned about that. Like, that's the plot of what we see in 4 is, like, moving the money and drugs back and forth. So
Sure.
it kind of tracks.
I've said this before. It's amazing how well they've retrofitted this movie to take place after the fact and to have all this different stuff take place. Like, considering this is probably not the idea to do this. So like, we're trying to like rectify what are facts in here with like what we're assuming to be facts later or whatever. But it's a fact in this movie that Han is stealing from the Yakuza, right? Because Uncle Kamada says to DK, your partner is stealing from me or whatever, right? So if we put this in the context of what we know he does in movies 4, 5, 6, whatever, we know that he has $11 million from Rio. So there's no need for him to steal from the Yakuza because he's set, right? He's like, I got money. Because he's either stealing for himself
And presumably
or for
Giselle's money too, right? Because like, what happened to hers?
She's still alive. She's, living whatever. She's a citizen of the world.
Yeah.
So he's either stealing for himself or for someone else. And so he's not stealing for himself because he says he has money in this movie. He doesn't need the money. He seems fine. He's got the $11 million from Rio, which means that he's stealing for someone else. And so the logical leap, the next step, whatever, would be that he's stealing from the Yakuza for Mr. Nobody. I don't know what to what end, though. Like, I don't know, unless they're just trying, like, you wouldn't, like, disrupt, like, it's like, oh, you're going to take down, like, a low-level street dealer or whatever. It's like, that's not going to take down, like, the meth empire. Like, I don't, it's kind of like a blurry
But the
thing.
shipments,
But
he's involved in the shipments.
I know, but so he's got to, but like, you don't steal to disrupt that. You like sort of lie low. So like it's a murky underground, but I do think that his placement in the Yakuza, given what we know from F9, directly ties into Mr. Nobody.
I think part of it is just he wants to mess with DK. Like,
He's still a criminal at heart, right?
Yeah, it's within his nature, I guess, to do certain shady things because that's he's a wild animal. Right, but also I think it's just to kind of I think it's kind of just to like stick it to DK as far as how he's conducting himself, how he's positioning himself as this big guy because his uncle's in Yakuza or whatnot. It's like, well, what if I make you look bad in front of your uncle on occasion? And I just start taking stuff, and it backfires ultimately, I guess. But I do think there's a little bit of like just resentment that he's throwing into why, and he's like in a lost place, right? He just lost Giselle, so he's like. His mind's all over the place as far as what's his purpose right now. Right.
So then, similar kind of related question in terms of Mr. Nobody and the plot of this movie. Do you think, is Han trying to recruit Sean for Mr. Nobody? Like,
no.
Is he like out in the field, like if there's other people, like see if they're worthy of whatever, or is he just like, he just likes Sean because he likes Sean?
Sean's a dog. Sean's a puppy to him. He is something he can train to just something to keep his focus on. And, train him how to, drive well or whatnot, but just like, I think it occupies his time.
And Sean is a much better complement that is reminding him of the crew, right?
Yes.
He reminds him of his previous friends now that we know, because like he's dealing with like all of these like Japanese guys and like the Yakuza and stuff like that, but he meets a kid that just fucking wants to race. And he's like, oh, that's where we were.
Yeah,
like,
he sees raw potential in him as far as like, this is a guy that drives, and he seems like at heart, he's a good person compared to the Yakuza I'm hanging out with.
Seems loyal. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think.
I mean, he knows Brian at this point, right? So it's like, he can see Brian in him.
So then the other question, in terms of like the big things that Han is doing in this movie, there's the pickup and delivery business, which we sort of alluded to before, where he goes to the bathhouse to get the money from the paw. Is the pickup and delivery business, is that a Mr. Nobody thing? Is that like a government sting? That's just Han running low level. That's for Uncle Kamada.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And just because he likes doing crime. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to fully get out of it. Like, because we even see, like, all of the other people that are, like, when they're agents or, like, employed by Mr. Nobody or Hobbs or whatever, like, they're working for the ISS, that they still do, like, low-level
DSS.
crime. DSS.
What's the ISS? Space Station? Different thing.
Probably, yeah.
That's Roman works the ISS now.
Yeah, he's on Space.
yeah.
Hobbs works the DSS.
Hashtag Space Force.
Yeah.
Yes.
Season 2.
Yeah, but they're all still doing, like, low-level, like, criminal shit just because that's just, like, part of their nature, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think it's outside of it. I had another thought, though. So the next step, which I'm sure you were about to get to, Han, we know from F9, has Elle. And he picks her up at some point, but I really couldn't put my finger on a time where it seems like Han is not free at night partying to be raising what is
What is the Elle thing after this, though? Is that after
It can't be because he's dead.
At some point in this movie, he gets Elle.
I'm trying to remember. Isn't he fakes the death first? And he's
he
just
fakes
doing
the death and then
he's just doing jobs for nobody at that point, right? It isn't one of them.
Oh, is that
So
how
he's
it
not-
goes? Is it reversed?
He's not actually working for Mr. Nobody in this movie, or he is, and that this is
No,
part.
I thought it was the other way around. That he's working jobs for Mr. Nobody. He goes to steal the thing. He finds Elle, and then Mr. Nobody's like, I have to disappear him because he has Elle.
I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm just trying to I can't get the moments together right now. I'm trying to think here.
Because I thought we had it clear. I thought we knew, but now maybe we don't. Because I think people out there are shouting at their podcast player right now.
No, I'm like fairly confident that he sat down with Mr. Nobody. He's like, hey, I need you to run some jobs for me. He gets Elle. He definitely gets Elle and then explodes.
Well, because so the background is that he recruits Han after Giselle
dies, yeah.
Because Giselle trusted him, and that's rare in this line of work, right?
And he meets him in Japan. We see them like in Japan.
Like the death thing has to be
The death thing is so he can keep working for nobody.
right.
So that's why it'd be after. Elle would be after that because then he's just a worker for nobody at that point.
But he was already a worker for nobody before that point.
Yeah.
Like so okay. So
I see what you're saying, but
the timeline is so Giselle dies. Han in grief goes to Tokyo, and he's there
Yes.
for X period of time. Mr. Nobody recruits him at some point. He follows him there, and it's just like, Giselle trusted you, I trust you, work for me. Han says, fine, whatever, yes. Then at some point, either before or after the crash, he does the job where he's supposed to steal the thing. He actually winds up taking Elle in, and then there is either before or after there's the crash.
But the last thing we see before it cuts back to Han and 9 is the crash. And he's like, okay, that's it. And then they stop the story, right?
But I think that also might just be the framing in 9 of like
The timeline?
It's
Okay.
filling in what we know. Yeah, it's like, we thought you died, and he's like, well, this is actually how it happened, or whatever.
Okay,
this would happen,
that's
and then
fair.
this would happen next. And I think what happened next is somewhere around that time is when he found Elle and started doing missions and taking care of her.
Yeah, the original job to steal Project Ares Elle was not going to be a part of it. Like, she was the key or whatever, but he was supposed to steal just the thing. So like, that doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be like a ghost at that point. He can just be like a regular kind of whatever, right? So
If we had actual dates for this franchise, that would help too, because we could go
If
from
this franchise
how old
cared
Elle
about
is versus
timelines or continuity,
when
yes,
Tokyo
exactly.
Drift actually takes place in this, like, I guess, weird nostalgia for the 2000s version of Tokyo.
Yes.
Set 2013.
But ultimately, what I was trying to get to is that this could have been course corrected if they would have just made Elle Rico, and then she would have been in the movies. They could have brought her back.
Rico, like Rico and Tego?
No, like Reiko.
Reiko. Okay.
Reiko.
Make her one
like,
of the characters
Earl's
that's part
friend.
of the Drift family. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Because that would explain why he's hanging out with high schoolers, because he's kind of like watching her and her friends, and she's in the movie. Like, she could kind of be the age if they would have just aged up Elle just a little bit.
Oh, right. So that was the other thing, I think, Aaron, and that's where I think the timeline factors in, that Elle is in this universe, because in F9, Elle is about 20, and when he takes her in, she's about 12. And this movie is supposed to take place in 2013, like, you know, when Fast and Furious 6, like, if that's the timeline, and F9 takes place in 2019 or whatever. So, like, she has to be around, I think, before or during the events of the movie. I think that was also part of our theory. But again, franchise doesn't give a shit about continuity or
doesn't.
timeline.
I mean,
Nobody does.
you know, obviously this is the third movie versus, like, we have to introduce a long lost brother, let alone things Han was doing in a franchise that we did not plan this out for. I mean, there's at some point you just can't really go along with how much retconning they can do and take it seriously.
But that's not going to stop us from trying.
Oh no, I'm not against it. I'm all for the speculation.
Because I was also looking, and this is something that Joe, you had said in a previous thing about you need to look at those sleep pods, and there's none that look like they're adorned for a young girl, but that would be a really big tip-off. Like, why are there 5 for, like, you know,
and then like a Hello Kitty
mechanics, and then a Hello Kitty one? It's like, doesn't seem so. Like, one of them might be hers. I don't know. But although realistically, she's probably like in that like second floor apartment loft or whatever, overlooking that ramen place.
Exactly. Yeah, where they find her in 9. Yeah.
Maybe the director's cut will set us straight in all this.
There's an extra 7 minutes available on digital today as this episode comes out, September 7th. So
we'll physical media for life, so I'm waiting for that.
Oh yeah, no.
Copy.
Yes, I will have the F9 4K disc in hand on the 21st. Don't you worry about that.
What if it does have like a legit scene that clarifies all of this in the director's cut? That's the only thing that's in it. It's just that.
Oh god, 6 minutes of this.
Just this.
And John Cena in the background at one of the parties, and we're like,
exactly.
There it was.
It's just 6 minutes of audio from this podcast. Like, what the fuck? Like, you see, there's no video. It's just like, missing reel, but it's just us talking like, wait, what is it? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
Amazon review. Best Fast and Furious yet, but what was up with like that 6 minutes of black on the screen? Bunch of random guys talking all this. It really took me out of the movie. But they went to space afterwards, and I was into it. 5 stars.
Yeah. The only thing I noticed this time around was that, and we might have talked about this because, again, I can't remember. This is now the 10th time or whatever, because we talked about this on High School Slumber Party and Third Time's a Charm. So maybe the 11th time we talked about this movie. But in the hangouts, when they're playing dominoes or mahjong or whatever they're playing up in that like loft, when Sean shows up and these lights crash, there's a lamp with a samurai cutout pasted to it. Do either of you know what this is?
No, what
Have
is
you seen
it?
this? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just somebody printed a picture of a samurai and then put it on this lamp.
Yeah, like it looks cool, but yeah, it's somebody taped this to the thing. Joe, anything else about this movie that you saw this time around? Anything else in terms of, or Aaron, in terms of fitting it into the timeline of F9? Anything else that like we're missing here?
By the end of this movie, Sean is the Drift King at this point, and he and Twinkie and they're all like running. I guess it's like the good version. It didn't seem like it was bad when DK was running things, but it's the side of the good has won out in all of this. I like the idea that like they continued high school together, and I guess graduated of honors and went on to college or something, and then became geeks that work on rockets. Like that
is cool. Yes.
Like I like to think they took like all the electives for science because they all had a shared interest in trigonometry and physics and other things that would like apply.
I think it was more split. Like I think the way it plays out in 9, it seems like Twinkie went to like business school. Earl became an engineer, and then Sean just like dicked around like as a mechanic, and he's like, "You would still be a mechanic."
Good. I mean, he's not dicking around. He's still a mechanic. Like he's not. It's not a skill I know.
Exactly. True. I'm not slanting.
I know you're not. I know what you're saying.
but no, they like seem like you would still be a mechanic without me. Like we wouldn't be working on rockets. And Twinkie seems like he's kind of just running the business. Like he's not doing the rocket-y things. Like
what is the business you think they run? Like, do they like just what do they do? Like when they're not doing the experiments on the weekend where they're like testing rockets out, what's a day in the life for Germany for these three that they're like going through?
He got it. Like I got to imagine that he like pretty much like invented StockX at this point, right? Like that's all I can imagine. He just like has like a sneaker resale portal, and like Twinkie founded StockX, was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna take my shit digital, and then just like that's how he has the money to do this.
They're probably big into crypto also.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Is it weird that Twinkie didn't have any Hulk paraphernalia on him throughout this movie, despite being Universal, where they easily could have?
Well, he has the car, so I mean.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. In F9.
Oh,
like in reference to the fact that he had this whole car.
Well, I think they did a nice job in F9 of the Jordan thing. Like that feels
the Jordan
as
thing,
true to Twinkie.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, that's
Hulk,
true.
right? Like just all of his. I just put a link in the chat to the image of the. There's 2 lamps and they both have cutouts, but it looks like like a movie samurai that's just taped to the side of this lamp.
Yeah, what the hell did they do that for? Like in the film? Like who in the crew was like, yeah, let's samurai this up a little bit.
Like it makes sense, but I'm also like, who? Like it looks like it's not like Shogun Assassin, like Lone Wolf and Cub, but like it looks like somebody from like a like a Takashi Miike movie maybe, or like
definitely
I don't
one
know.
of these, yeah. We gotta ask Justin Lin. He definitely put them there for a reason.
I'm trying to reverse this and see if I can image lookup and get this.
Yeah, Justin, write in family@cageclub.me.
But no, offhand, I'm not sure.
No, it's just strange. I'm like, oh, that's like you know, because it looks nice. Like, it looks like kind of professionally done, but I don't know. It was wild. So, you know. I also do like going back to the conversation you guys were having while I was scrubbing through the movie for this image. I think it's cool that the only characters we ever see going to school become rocket scientists. Like you're saying about like, you know, they continue their schooling, but like, it's like, hey kids, go to school and you can be a rocket scientist.
Yeah, even if you race cars on the weekend and get into trouble and almost die at the hands of the Yakuza.
Mm-hmm. Like we know in the first movie that Mia is studying, and then there's a deleted scene where like, you know, she wants to go to med school or Dom wants to go to med school or whatever, so you can like
but she becomes a stay-at-home mom, essentially.
Yeah. And she gets cut out of the movies, basically, right? Yeah. So like, but if you're in a movie going to school, you become a rocket scientist. It's clear if X, then Y.
True.
Any other thoughts, or do you want to play a couple games?
Games for me.
I'm good for games, yeah.
All right. Aaron, first up, we are going to find out which Fast and Furious character you are. So there's 7 questions, 6 answers per question. No wrong answers again. Once again, if you want to defend your answers, or if you want to let the mystery be, whatever you want, are you ready to find out which character you are in the Fastiverse?
Yes.
Question number 1, how fast are you? We know you ran high school track, so I'm assuming pretty fast, but are you NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
I'll take the NASCAR.
Okay. Question number 2, how furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale on that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
I'm gonna say Hulk.
We're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you manning the grill, saying grace, kicking back with a beer, babysitting, being the entertainment, or sneaking a snack?
Being the entertainment.
You're just trying to get Roman now. You've got time to kill. What are you doing? Grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or working on your computer?
Friends.
I don't have friends. I have family. Describe your wedding. I'm never getting married. It's just me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
It's a backyard country affair.
Man, there are like 12 characters within 3 or 4 points right now, so this could be anybody's game. 2 questions left. You just won the lottery. What are you buying? My own garage, a private plane, I'm gambling it all away, my childhood home, a fleet of cars, or a new life?
My own garage.
And the final question, what is your drink of choice? And considering you don't drink alcohol, might narrow this down. Belgian ale, Corona, something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just, you know, Joe's getting a drink, I'll just have one of whatever you're having.
Something fruity.
Ooh. Hold on. I don't know if we have this character yet. Hang on. Oh, we did. Okay. Kyle, the fruity films man himself, is also this character, but this is the only other time that she has ever come up. Aaron, you are Suki.
Okay.
Your bright personality and artistic flair make you a very popular person, and it's easy to see why people are drawn to you. You're an optimist who can stay positive even in defeat, which might be your most valuable trait. Always up for a good time and willing to take a risk, you're a hard person to pin down, but you're always there when your family needs you, and you drive like the wind blows.
That works. That works for me.
Yeah? Cool.
It's a pretty good one, man. I like Suki a lot as a character. I don't think she gets enough love.
Your second most was Giselle, and your least was Mr. Nobody. Oh. So you are not at all Mr. Nobody. You are not mysterious. It seems like, yeah, and I feel like Suki and Mr. Nobody are kind of diametrically opposed.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, you are Suki, so welcome to the family officially, our second Suki. So glad to have another Suki here, because, I mean, Suki's the best.
It seems like she's right on that lower tier of characters we expect to come back at some point, but either it's scheduling or they just don't feel like acting anymore. That's preventing them.
Yes.
Because that's both her and Eva Mendes at this point.
Yeah.
Although Eva Mendes did come back for that one scene in 5, right? So, you know.
Well, even then, that was before she really started not acting anymore, which she's currently not doing. So.
I mean, if you were with Ryan Gosling and raising a family, would you ever want to leave? It's just like, no, that sounds like heaven. Just like hang out at home with Ryan Gosling and your kids. Like, why not?
Yeah.
The next game is This Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
This is where I go on twitter.com, aka the Bird app, and we find tweets from anybody on Twitter who might be interested in the show. We have all done our homework ahead of time. I have a tweet, Joe has a tweet, Aaron has a tweet, but first I'm going to review last episode's picks and see if we got any points. So first up, I found Chocolate Sauce at Zero Reacts saying Vin Diesel saying the movies is greater than, and they said, it, like everything Vin Diesel does, is perfect. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Joe, you found Ayo Dez at Ayo Dez TMG said, I finally watched F9 and boy, my killas reach space. You said, we love that scene just as much as you. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. Nico found Dick Warlock with the punchable face at Dick Warlock Esquire. Went to see F9 at the theater and spent an hour preparing to disconnect with the franchise altogether. Vin Diesel's character has become so dour, so self-serious, not fun. Then they sent Tyrese and Ludacris into space, and I'm 100% back in. Can't wait for F10. We said, boy, do we have a podcast for you. There's one particular guy who feels the particular way as you, if you're into that. It got 2 likes, one from Michelle Farley, who is a active participant on our Twitter. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. But also one from Dick Warlock with the punchable face, so Nico gets a point.
Point for him. There you go.
1 point to Nico, which is a rare thing. Aaron, this seems like the easiest game in the world, and yet it is wildly difficult to score points. But Nico up to 27 points, which is amazing. Getting close.
That's a ton.
Neat.
Kevo found Francios Stinson at LAC 500 F9. I'm giving it a hard 7. Good night. And we said, boy, do we have a hard podcast for you. Nothing. And then Nico and Kevo found a bonus one at Catherine Hammond, or Hamon, at Catherine Hamon. My 9-year-old just renamed the Fast and Furious franchise Impossible Cars, as we showed him F9 preview, and he said, so is this just Impossible Cars? Followed by, can we watch Captain Underpants? Why do I feel like a failure somehow? And we said, boy, do we have a podcast for you, but not your kid. And Catherine liked the tweet. So no one gets a point there, but spreading the good word of Too Fast, Too Forever to Catherine. So shout out to Nico for a point and for a ghost point. Ghost Girl on the bonus. So, Aaron, you sent in your tweet via email. Can you please read the tweet that we are going to retweet as Too Fast and respond to?
The tweet is, at The Ellen Show, tonight, find out where Vin Diesel put his pies on Game of Games.
So we're going to retweet that, and we're going to reply to the Ellen Show, and Ellen's obviously going to respond to this. But Aaron, how do you want to... So what we normally say is just, boy, do we have a podcast for you, and a link to the show, but you can customize the message if you want, add a little bit of flair that maybe will catch Ellen's eye, her heart eye emojis in this picture. Do you want to customize this, and if so, how do you want to customize it?
Let me think about this for a second. Let's see.
Bearing in mind, this is a 2.5-year-old tweet from a verified account with hundreds of thousands of followers, and also the game is difficult enough as it is, so it's probably not going to work, but if it does, next stop the moon.
Guys, I really want those points.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you want to, let's see. Find out where Vin Diesel...
I appreciate how serious you're taking this.
Find out where Vin Diesel put his pies on Game of Games. Find out where Vin Diesel put his cars... in Fast and Furious. Also, boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Perfect.
Cool. Done and done. Joe, please hit us with your tweets.
Mine is a quote tweet. It's from at Goliath Smasher, Cheryl. The tweet frame that's like, the guy talking to the girl in the bar, and she's just like pretending to listen to him, and it says caption this. And the quote tweet is, okay, so Tokyo Drift actually takes place between F6 and F7, and at first we didn't know who T-boned Han. Then at the end of F6, we saw it was Deckard Shaw, Owen Shaw's brother, out of revenge. And then in F9, and it starts trailing, I just want to be like, this is literally us. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
All right. I found D at Deandra_V, who says, okay, so in Fast and Furious, the 4th movie in the franchise, Mia literally says, how do you say goodbye to your only brother? Now in F9, they have another brother. I really hate continuity errors.
That's fair. But at the time, it was her only brother. Because the other one was banished. So they were not
they take banishment seriously. That was my thought on that.
Yeah.
Don't speak it, don't say it.
I'm saying we hate continuity errors too, but we love finding them and talking about them forever. Boy, do we have a podcast.
Well played, sir.
The final game is, dude, what's my car?
Dude, what's my car? What's
your car, dude? So now, Aaron, you said you're going to be on Joe's team here. So
okay.
This is a game where we have people email in pictures of cars. I try to get Joe and now you to guess what it is based on my terrible, terrible descriptions. So, Okay, I'm gonna say here. We're just gonna do this one. No numbers. Just
Perfect.
this is from Jerry.
Cool.
Subject line: car that will knock your socks off.
Okay.
So this is wild. I got to figure out this thing out. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So this car is both German and British.
Interesting. Okay.
There have been 2,157 units produced as of 2009. It's two different manufacturers, hence the two different countries. If it will help you, it is black.
Thank you.
This is you might know about this. Aaron, how much, I know you said you're not really a car guy, but like, do you know cars? Because I don't. So like, where's the level of knowledge that you bring to this game?
I can recognize certain aspects of brands.
Okay. Fair.
Cool. I don't know if that's going to help here, but maybe it will. I don't know. We'll find out. But it is black, so you got that going for you. It's very long. It seems very long. It seems very low profile.
Okay.
Very sleek. Kind of Batmobile-y, but not as... It's like a sexier... Like, if there was a Batgirl mobile, it might be this. Like, it's more... It seems more feminine, more refined than other cars I've described as being Batmobile-y in this game.
Okay.
So less phallic, or...
No, it also still looks like a big old dick. Like, it's not really like Bezos's spaceship that looks like a dick, but like it's kind of dickish. There are what appear to be, though I don't know if they're functioning as such, exhausts, like steel exhausts right behind the front tires, like in front of the driver's side door.
Okay.
Two-door car, of course, because it is very sporty.
To 2009.
2009.
Okay.
I think. Hold on, let me find out.
Is it a collaboration between two manufacturers?
I think so. So I'm gonna look this up on Wiki. It's a car jointly developed by these two things.
Okay.
One company owned part of the other company, and it was produced in conjunction. And it's an homage to a different car. And this was offered in coupe, roadster, and speedster body styles, with the latter becoming a limited edition model.
What one owned the other one? Was it Audi and Jaguar?
No. German and UK. That might also apply to that, but no.
BMW? One of them?
No.
Porsche?
Nope.
Volkswagen, then.
Nope.
Okay.
Famous German brand Mitsubishi? I know that's not right.
Mercedes?
Mercedes-Benz is the German one.
Okay.
Jaguar was the other one?
Nope. You already guessed that. It's still no. It's still a no for me, dog.
Okay.
Aston Martin?
Yeah.
No, not an Aston Martin.
Close. Mercedes and who's the
At
other
the 1999 North American International Auto Show, Mercedes-Benz presented their concept for the... I don't know if this is a spoiler or not.
What? Tell me.
No, I'm just trying to read the wiki. That's very long, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it was made between 2003 and 2010, I guess, but it only was really sold for a couple of years. I don't know. The British automaker is someone's name.
McLaren.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you know of a collabo between Mercedes-Benz and McLaren?
No, I don't. I know that McLaren drove Mercedes at some point.
So the history is that Mercedes-Benz owned 40% of the McLaren group, and the car was produced in conjunction between the two companies.
Okay.
Which I did not know. But it is very, very kind of easy, to be honest. I mean, not easy, but like...
P1?
Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Which I did not know was a car. Here is a link to a couple pictures that Jerry sent in. It's a cool car. The inside looks kind of shitty, to be honest. Like those seats, the seats in the picture are not great, I don't think.
Well, it's just like, I guess
velvety.
they just McLaren'd up an SLR. Like, this was a car. So, yeah, it does look like a Batmobile, though. I mean, I get that part for sure.
Like there's been other cars that we have done in this game that are more Batmobile-y.
Yep. Yeah, it's the front with, like, the pointy nose type situation.
It's a very long hood, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I would still drive the shit out of this thing if I had one,
Yeah.
right?
Well, did that car knock your socks off? Because that's what Jerry said it would.
It
or
did.
Are your socks still on?
I am barefoot, so, I mean, it did something.
Yeah.
Mine are still on, but not
Take 'em
because
off,
this
Joe.
didn't out throwing them right now.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for sending that in. And thank you, Aaron, for joining us today on our Tokyo Drift episode.
Thank you for having me. I've been having a blast to be here.
That is great. You'll have to come back for a future movie that is not a Fast and Furious movie because we do all these pit stops. So, whenever we have a new theme announced, well, if you're interested in a thing, just let us know and we'll be happy to have you back. But in the meantime, between now and then, if people want more Aaron Neuwirth, we already talked about the Out Now with Aaron and Abe show. If you want to talk about that a little bit, We Live Entertainment. Where can people find you? What do you want to plug? Where's the best place to find at Aaron's PS4 on the internet?
In my room playing my PlayStation. I'm all over the place. You can find, yes, you mentioned the podcast, which you two were both gracious enough to be on, where we talk about F9. That is the show Out Now with Aaron and Abe, where my friend Abe and I talk about weekly movie releases. We also do a commentary track every month, which is super fun. We just recently did Candyman, both the original for a commentary and the new Candyman for the film discussion, which are both very worthwhile. I write for We Live Entertainment. That's where I do all my movie reviews. I also write for WhySoBlue.com, which is where I review Blu-rays and Criterion Blu-rays. And I occasionally get some pieces up on Variety. I just had one on Don't Breathe 2, a movie that I did not like. But hey, the sound was excellent in that movie, and that's who I interviewed for that film. And I'm, of course, on Twitter at Aaron's PS4.
So what do you think? I mean, not breaking news, a couple weeks old by this point, but Criterion 4K, how excited are you?
I am very excited. It's been a lot of, between me and my friends who also deal with 4K, it's been like all these other studios like Kino and Shout Factor, like all these other smaller like studio labels are putting out 4Ks, and Criterion's
Vinegar Syndrome now too. Yep.
Vinegar Syndrome, yeah. Criterion's like, I don't know, shrug shoulders, and now it's like, oh, okay, you're getting into this and going big. So, and the selection of titles, I mean, right away with Citizen Kane and like a variety, Mulholland Drive, Menace to Society, like, and the Red Shoes. That was one I was most excited about. It's like, yeah.
And the big news today, I don't know if you saw it today, but they bumped Uncut Gems back by a month, but now they're putting it out in 4K as well. So
I definitely saw that, and there's definitely a gift from that movie that very much applies to that knowledge.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
If people are not, if people are like, where's Abe? Because, it's Out Now with Aaron and Abe. I just want to, this is one of my favorite sentences I've ever gotten in an email. I was like, hey, thanks because Mark introduced us, past guest Mark Hoffmeyer, really sowing his seeds throughout. Because remember on the SEMO episode, SEMO trying very desperately to, and he succeeded. And he's like, Mark's at the bar
match
so high.
His intensity, yeah.
Yes. And so it was great. But then Mark introduced us to Aaron and Abe. And so I was emailing back and forth about Aaron to go on their show. And I was like, hey, we'd love to have you guys on our show too if you really love these movies, or I don't know if it's just like a new release. And Aaron said, Abe is more of a frequent guest at the Toretto house as opposed to official family member. So, like, I just love that framing. Like, yeah, he hangs out, but, like, he's not really part. You know what I mean? So just, if people are wondering, like, we would love to have Abe on, but, Aaron's the one who's got the passion. He's the family, so that's why Aaron's here. So thank you for that. And also thank you for that sentence.
For sure. I'm happy that it's lived on. But I'm certainly happy to say that, yes, I would agree. Abe's not a super fan in the way that obviously you guys are and I am, but he's certainly knowledgeable enough about the franchise. He's been sticking with me ever since we started the podcast, when Fast 5 was one of our very first episodes. I'm certainly going to let him know that he's more than welcome to join you guys at some point, because it'd be great to hear him on here.
As you know, as a podcast host, finding guests for shows can be very exhausting. And so especially for this, we're for the main Fast and Furious movies, Joe and I are never going to talk about Tokyo Drift alone again. So we need guests for every episode. So we're taking all comers because, goddamn, there's a lot of these movies. Like, this format it's lunacy. So, I mean, people know that by now. But I just want to give you I mostly want to give you credit for one of my very I still you emailed it in June and it's still stuck in my brain as a he's more of a frequent guest there. So I love that so much. But so now, Joe, next week, we teased it already. We were talking about F9 for the 5th time, this time with Heather Antos. Okay. So this is going to be our final of the 1, 2, 3 of Fast and Furious and F9 and a pit stop, because we're going to do F9 one more time this lap at the end with a new guest. But this is the last time that we're doing it with a new, a full lap long guest. So F9 next week. But between now and then, a Patreon exclusive movie, a movie that I would like to... Oh, actually, so Aaron, the movie we did last week that just came out today as we're recording this is a movie that you logged, and it seemed like you really liked on Letterboxd, The World's Fastest Indian with Anthony Hopkins.
That movie's great.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome.
It really is. I'd seen it once years ago when it first came out. I was like, this is really good. And I finally, I've owned it for years without having watched it. And I finally watched it. I was like, yeah, this was really good. and the other one random thing I remember about this movie is it had a fucking Super Bowl commercial for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
When the Super Bowl was happening, whatever year that, 2004, right? 5?
4 or 5. I think 5. I think 5, yeah.
Whenever it was coming out in this, it was coming out in a January release or something like that. And it had a Super Bowl commercials. Like, why is this movie
insane?
Like, Magnolia paid like $1 million for this movie to have an advertisement. Good for you, I guess. Like, that killed me.
It's
so
the right
crazy.
demographic, though. It kind of feels like it's just like,
yes,
wow.
like a dad, like an ultimate dad movie, I guess. Motorcycles and stuff. Like, I can see why to an extent, but it feels like such a big swing for a movie like that. It's like, yeah, we'll get on the Super Bowl. Anthony Hopkins, motorcycles, a trans character. Like, all this is great. Like,
Yeah. Our next movie, our pit stop, though, is a movie you gave 4.5 stars to on Letterboxd, which I am very happy that you did because I love this movie. I had never seen this one. This had been an oversight, and then I saw it in theaters with a packed room at the Draft House in Austin. We're doing the Wachowskis' Speed Racer.
oh
on
my
Patreon.
god, yes. Speed Racer
Movie rules. Movie kicks so much ass. It's
Oh
so
my
good
God.
and so weird and so crazy.
Another one I'm very proud to have seen in theaters when it came out, and not before it bombed heavily. But it's so good. It's such a good movie.
Man, the Wachowskis have a bad reputation for like making clunkers, but like I adore this movie. I adore Jupiter Ascending. People complain that there's nothing but sequels and remakes, and then somebody tries something new. They're like, "Well, this sucks." It's like you can't get mad at everything. Like pick a lane and stay there.
Yeah.
But Speed Racer only on Patreon, coming at you between this episode and the next episode. So if you want to join Too Fast, Too Forever for just even $1 a month gets you in the door, hear us talk about Speed Racer. Very excited to see it again because I've only seen it the one time in theaters and I loved it. So once again, thank you, Aaron. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Go to our Patreon at TooFastTooForever.com. Speed Racer coming at you in a couple days. In our store at TooFastTooForever.shop. Come back next week for F9 with Heather Antos. We will make her watch the movie again. Maybe. Theoretically. Possibly. Who knows? I don't know. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And that was Aaron Neuwirth of Out Now with Aaron and Abe. But we'll tell you all about it.
See you